Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only football podcast tonight. Jason Kelce, the Philadelphia Eagles center, has retired. Russell Wilson has been released from the Broncos. People have gotten franchise tagged. People have been released. There's been history at the NFL Combine. We had our own guy there, Kyle, at the NFL Combine, boots on the ground. That's what we're talking about on today's episode. And of course, we're going to end it all off with the chives with Kyle. Let's get it. America is football, football is America.
Football is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass on the moment in time. I don't give a damn. Oh my God.
No.
You loved it.
It's 30 to 27. Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20. Woo!
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Only Football Podcast. It has been an eventful week, if I do say so myself. As Rick mentioned, I was at the Combine, running drills, doing
Boots on the ground.
40-year-old 40. Reliving the old days. I had Bengal fans all around me, and I got in debates. I got in a lot of debates this weekend.
Oh,
it was
Kyle's debating people telling Russ is not the worst trade of all time. But
no, I was debating people saying that it was, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And on top of that, when you have an event like the Combine for free, the kind of people that attracts are very, very, very deep fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, there's a lot of passion in that place.
Yeah.
And, you know, speaking of passion, one of the most passionate players ever to walk into Philadelphia and really kind of, I don't want to say reinvent the position, but I think in a way what Kelce did was make centers known again. Who could have ever thought that the center could be the star of your team? Yeah. That is what Jason Kelce brought to the NFL, and that is what is going to be missed. Now, we heard that he was announcing this retirement, and we said, okay, that's what we thought was going to happen. You know, all the emotional walk-off from Tampa Bay and all the storylines we've heard. But then he said, no, hold on, I haven't made a decision yet. So we wait a little bit longer. Thought maybe like Tom Brady, he would just decide to come back one more year. That's not the case. Jason Kelce stepping away from football for good. And with how good his podcast is doing, New Heights, I'm pretty sure that he's just ready to step into the next phase of life. You can get caught in that period of time where you're gambling, just one more year. And you feel like you're really close to a Super Bowl, but after last year, maybe he's just willing to walk away from the poker table, enjoy his time with his family, and try to, because football, man, it's an aggressive, violent sport, and it will make you injured and not able to play with your kids. And I think he's just looking forward to this next chapter of life. But what did you think when you heard the news? And I guess nobody was shocked to hear it, but Were you a little bit surprised that he officially announced it?
A little bit. Kind of what you were saying though. What happened? When that story released about him telling his teammates that he was going to retire, and then that leaked, and then he's like, "No, hold on, I was just talking. I was emotional. Blah blah blah. I don't know yet." And then he does it. What was awesome? So I wasn't shocked, but what was awesome was listening to his retirement speech that he had prepared, at the Nova Care complex or whatever it's called. Um, what he had to say and just how kind of thorough he was talking about his career. I mean, he was talking about the very beginning with Travis Kelsey, when they were kids, when they would imagine themselves winning these games, even well before they started playing football, even thinking about the NFL. Like, he was going into the depths of his soul, of his life, talking about this. He eventually gets to Cincinnati, going there, being a walk-on there, having to earn his right to play there, and then eventually, going to the Eagles and looking like one of the worst centers in the league at one point. And then he credits his offensive line coach, which his name kind of escapes me right now at the moment, Jeff Stoutland. He credits him with kind of bringing him back to that elite level that he was playing at, before that, and really just what he is that we know Jason Kelce for today, right? And winning the Super Bowl with the Eagles, being heartbroken that he lost to the Chiefs against Travis Kelsey, and being, just emotional about where he's at now in life. But like you said, dude, he's got a very successful podcast with Travis. He's got a family to take care of. He's got a 13 season career that he can absolutely rest on his laurels on. You know what I mean? Like, it was a great career for him, to be able to go to 2 Super Bowls and win one of them, to play against your brother, in the Super Bowl. I just think what he did was amazing. And like you said, probably one of the most famous centers, if not offensive linemen, today in the NFL, like just overall. So, I mean, again, his career is really honestly historic, and something that, if you are a lineman, looking at what you want to do, the impact you want to have on the NFL, it's a Jason Kelce career. That's all you could ask for when you're coming into the league as a young offensive lineman.
Yeah, and also a lot of people want to play at a high level until the end of their career.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to be remembered in a negative way. Manning lost this in this episode of how to make it.
Oh, we'll get there.
Manning, he's not remembered playing at elite level. Like, he happened to win a Super Bowl, which is very odd. And just normally it wouldn't go down like this. But when people talk about Manning's final year, it's almost like, oh my God, the Broncos were barely keeping him, playing in the game. Like, you don't want to be remembered like that. And that's always kind of like, when do I walk away? Tom Brady walks away after a one and done playoff, year, but people still, it's not like we saw Tom Brady playing terrible. So we still remember these guys good and in a good light. And you look at Kelsey, and he was first team All Pro last season. I mean, that's just proof that he played at an elite level up until his final snap. So he's walking away from the game with definitely more in the tank, but that more in the tank might be reserved for some other things that he wants to do. This is going to be interesting for the Philadelphia Eagles. I would imagine that they're going to be drafting an offensive piece. This is still one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Speaking of those other people, Lane Johnson, the right tackle, said if it was his last game, he was one of the best teammates I ever had. That's what he said after the wild card loss to Tampa Bay in January. He also said that he's a guy whose passion is unmatched, a guy who I saw Philly try to run him out of town. I saw a guy emerge from that and become the best center that maybe has ever played. in Kelsey is the 5th center in NFL history with at least all 6 All-Pro selections.
Yeah.
The other 4, Jim Otto, Bulldog Turner, Jim Ringo, and Dermody Dawson. And
Wow.
all those other guys are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So likely a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Should be going straight in. So go ahead and just get fitted for the gold jacket now, Kelsey.
Mhm.
You're definitely getting one, and congrats on a hell of a career. It was a pleasure
Yeah,
to watch.
congrats. He has the most first team All-Pro selections after turning 30. And that's 6. And that's ahead of Jerry Rice and Bruce Smith. Bruce
That
Smith,
is
who had
just
5.
fucking with me right now.
Insane, dude. Like
Wait.
2016 was his worst year. And Stoutland worked with him for 7 more years after that. And out of those 7, 6 of those were first team All-Pro. Like just incredible. And you know, Bill makes a good point here. Tush Push officially over in Philadelphia. He was like the anchor for that. You know, I mean, you kind of heard him over the season too. Like anytime Sirianni would call Tush Push, I'd be like, oh fuck, because he's gonna get demolished.
I still expect him though, week 1.
Oh yeah,
to run out onto the field, you know, or be around the fans. Like this is a guy that just chugs beers with fans and looks like he's having the most fun ever. He's got his flip-flops on. He's jumping up into the booth, jumping back out with the fans. Like he's just such a relatable, personable guy. And I still think that he's going to be connected to Philadelphia sports for life. And I don't expect him to, you know, perhaps like move out of the state just because his career's over. People that like where they play. I mean, Manning still lives in Denver. He has never moved back to Indianapolis.
Really? Wow.
And I was just there, so I could understand why.
Sorry, Ginger.
Yeah. Sorry, Ginger.
Oh, God.
But yeah, his brother, though, I expect him to be going to a lot more football games for the Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely. Like you could tell, like it's crazy, man. Like I have a younger brother and I see how you and your brother are. And I'm like, and I see how Travis and Jason are. And I'm like, I'm not like that with my brother. It's just like, wow, that's so cool. Yeah. Yeah. Like there's like a bond, there's like a legit bond there.
Are you
know
guys
what I mean?
8 years apart?
Well, we're like 4 years apart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're 2. I always say 2 is the sweet spot because you're still kind of in the same age group, but there's enough of a separation where like you have your own friends, but like you can play together and like look up to like, oh, that's what cool people are wearing. Like, but when it gets a little further, it's like there's a bigger gap, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, like one of the biggest things too was like he went to college after he went to college and I stayed in Chicago. And then when he came back from college, I got in the Navy. So there's been like 10, 11 years of us not really being in the same place for long periods of time. You know what I mean? Like we've been separated for so long. So like, I get that part, but it's just like, I look at that and I saw how he embraced, you know, not only his mom, his dad, his wife, but Travis after his retirement. And I'm like, man, those, like you said, he's going to go to a lot of Chiefs games. He's going to be one of the biggest cheerleaders for Travis, you know, moving forward, as you saw during the Super Bowl. So it's just awesome to see, like you said.
Well, I guess right before we move off this topic, I did want to make sure that we let everyone know, if you're an Eagles fan or if you just didn't know, that there was a succession plan in place. Last year, they drafted Cam Jurgens, who was selected in the 2nd round to be Kelsey's replacement, basically. So the Eagles actually asked Kelsey about that, and he said Jurgens was my favorite player in the draft.
Nice.
So the Eagles had been asking Kelsey to evaluate centers coming out of college for the past 2 to 3 years to help them, and Jurgens was the one who compared the most to Jason Kelsey.
And could you imagine? Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And could you imagine, right? Like he had a year under Jason Kelsey. So could you imagine he turns into, I'm not saying a Hall of Famer like Jason Kelsey's going to be, but
Jordan Love.
settle down. But he turns into like a great replacement, a great rookie replacement for Jason Kelsey. Like the Eagles they'll just go down as like one of the smartest organizations for being like, hey, what do you think about this center? And their Hall of Fame center says, yes, I like that guy. And then bam, another guy who fills the shoes and just continues that great center play for the Eagles.
Yeah, and man, I just expect this to be so fun. Like whatever Jason and Travis Kelsey were able to do with two professional jobs, they didn't have a ton of time, and they were one of the best entertainers of the year.
They
and now you're releasing Jason Kelsey into the wild. It's like, watch out, man. I expect him to be at WWE events. I expect him
with
to
Pat McAfee.
Yeah, dude, he's gonna be on the Pat McAfee show for sure.
Yes,
like he's gonna be going to college football games.
Yeah,
like
he's gonna be on this show.
We weren't gonna tell anyone yet, but no. Hopefully, he does come on this show one day. This is the kind of show I think he would like. But yeah, that's all I got. And then Mile High and everybody else that's tuning in right now, just wanted to say welcome. And we are about to get into probably the hottest news that will come out of Denver for quite some time. This is the biggest news that's come since the trade itself. So Russell Wilson, no longer a Denver Bronco. Rick, do you want me to just go right in? Or do you
I do just want to say something real quick. And Mile High, we see that. Love the channel, but pissed we lost Wilson. But I don't think you can ever lose Mr. Unlimited. You can never lose Mr. Unlimited. Look, it's looking like one of the worst trades ever. And Kyle, I'm gonna let you go into it too. But people are saying that. But at the time, we have to look at the time and place it happened. At the time and place it happened, the Broncos looked like they won the trade. And unfortunately, you had Nathaniel Hackett for that first, 3/4 of a season. That wasn't working. And it just sucks to see because Russ, the last couple seasons that we have been on this show, Kyle and I have had honestly like a lot of faith in Russ. They're obviously he's cringe. He's a cringe dude. We're not gonna shy away from that. And it was also awesome to kind of see like the belief that he still had in himself, his teammates, the organization. Like it was awesome to see that during the off seasons, during the seasons as they played out. They went on a 6-game winning streak. And then we kept playing that one clip of him just being like, it's hard to do that, but I still got belief. So it's like one of those things that you buy into, but at the end of the day, this is what happens. And we got Lil E in the house. But Kyle, you are the Denver Broncos diehard. Please take it away.
A couple weeks ago, I said that Russell Wilson would no longer be on the team in 2 weeks. And this is something that a lot of people in Denver knew was going to happen. Now, if you're not very close connected, I could see how you might have thought there was a chance. But the big turning point was when Russell Wilson was on that T-shirt of the fan with all the lines through. Yes. And Sean said, we have to make sure that our next guy doesn't have a line through it. Well, that was kind of a big clue that Sean accidentally just said that there is a next guy that is coming this year. So yeah, I thought that. Now I've been debating with a lot of people because for some reason people really want to stick up for Russell Wilson. Now I understand this. I feel very balanced in my opinion here because I'm also one of those fans that buys into any player that we get. So if I'm telling you that we made the right decision, it's because I have spent a lot of time thinking about it. And it takes a lot for me to, I backed Russell Wilson when we were bad. I backed him when we were bad the second year. And I backed him all of last year. And I never was for his benching that happened. I never said, oh yeah, this is a good idea. I did say, well, at least we get to find out what Jared Stidham is, because at that point in the season, our playoffs, after losing to the Patriots, our playoffs were gone. And Sean it was really the week before that our playoffs were gone.
Mm-hmm.
We lost to Houston, and we couldn't have lost that game, and it just kind of slipped away. But that's what happens when you start 1-5, and that's the kind of year that we were having. And there was all kinds of stuff leading up to when Denver, before they got on that win streak, that 5-game winning streak in the middle of the season, where they beat Buffalo, Minnesota, the Chiefs, the Browns. I mean, they just kept on beating football teams. And what was different was Sean kind of figured out a little bit better of a way to use him. But what was he saying during that whole stretch? We need to shorten the terminology. Russell Wilson and Sean Payton were having issues with the length of the plays and getting the snap off in time. So Sean pivoted. And we kind of know what Sean was going to do, because when he took the Broncos job, they asked him, what are you going to do to fix Russell Wilson? He didn't shy away from saying, we're going to play the music that he dances to best. We're not going to try to fit a system to him. We're going to figure out, okay, where does Russ thrive and do those things? So we already know, like, the mentality of Sean Payton going in, he had the right idea. This was not like Bill Belichick or some defensive coach couldn't get Russ to play at a higher level. But when he changed that terminology and he found those plays, he realized that we only have 10 plays. We have shortened our playbook so much, and we can't use the middle of the field. And there's all these things that Sean wants to do because he needs a quarterback to do whatever he wants. You know, deep down inside, he's definitely wanting to do some of the similar things he did with Drew Brees, of course. So I think that he felt like, okay, I have one hand tied behind my back. And the fact that I even got the Broncos to from 31st in almost every metric offensively up to 15th, and we were a middle of the pack offense, I think he credits, you know, a lot of hard work and study and film for that. But that's not what our goals are. Our goal is not to get Russ from the worst quarterback in the league up to a mediocre, especially when you're paying him hundreds of millions of dollars. And when you pay somebody that kind of money, you're asking him to elevate the people around. Marvin Harrison, look at his numbers. He had like 400 receiving yards the years before Peyton Manning got there. Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark. We always say, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Were all of these weapons just really good, or did the quarterback make all of these people elite over time? Because as a quarterback, you can throw a receiver open. You can, if you have a high IQ, you can change it. You can audible it. We never saw Russell Wilson really play the quarterback position with the type of command that is required. For instance, his very first game, when they kicked the 66-yard field goal to win the game and lost, why wouldn't you on 4th and 4 be like, hey, we're averaging 5 yards a play. We're not going to kick this field goal. Peyton Manning would never have let that happen. That was the first moment where I had to think to myself, we don't have Peyton Manning. I thought we had Peyton Manning.
And that's what I was going to say, just to interject real quick. It's tough going from a field general like the sheriff, you know what I mean? So
right. And it's noticeable for all the fans. And then going into last year, it was like, he had that. I mean, all of the plays that he made, they looked like, if you look at the PFF unlikely percentage of completion, these plays were miraculous. The 2 to Cortland Sutton that happened, these miracle moments, the fact that Buffalo had 12 men on the field and Denver got to re-kick the field goal.
What a moment.
all of these things were just like really very lucky. And I think any rational Bronco fan loved the feeling of winning so much. It felt so good. You just wanted to buy in, but there was a little part of you that said, no, this feels so good. And I know that it's not going to last. This recipe is not going to last. So I don't want myself to get disappointed if I buy in. And even me, I never had him in my top 5 in the power rankings because I was like, it's taking so much to get these wins. I don't know if I'm there yet. And I think Sean and everyone else knew that as well. So they said, you know what? We're going to eat all of this money, sure, but he was still playing on Seattle's final 2-year contract. This year, his new contract would have kicked in. And if he would have played this year, then next year's would have kicked in. So they saved $35 million. And the cap was $30 more than people anticipated from the projection. So the only question I had was, is that extra 30 million enough for Sean to keep Russ? And I guess the question is answered. So it's not. And it's going to be really hard for Russ moving forward, because if he goes to the Steelers or the Patriots, this is a guy that wants to win 2 Super Bowls. He doesn't want to go to a situation where they're like, we're going to draft Drake May and he's going to learn behind you for a year and then take over next year. You think Russ is going to sign that? No freaking way.
No.
He wants a team that's going to buy into him, and it's going to be extremely difficult after the film that he's put together the final 2 seasons. And what I really hate is that it's possible, I'm just saying it is possible, that Russ is going to not want to sign those deals, but then he's going to realize if he doesn't, he's out. Like, that's it. His last saving grace is to take the 1-year contract with either the Steelers or Patriots and do enough for another team to buy into him. But if he gets too ahead of himself and he's just like, I'm not going to a place where I'm a bridge quarterback, we may never see Russ take a snap again as a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, and like Bill's saying here, Russ is about to be Cam Newton. That is very much a possibility for Russell Wilson. But so if you're a team, though, you're looking at his last 2 seasons. Like you said, he has not put on great film, like one bit. And we can, to an extent, excused what happened under Nathaniel Hackett his first year under Denver, right? Under that regime. Then his next season, we have to also look at the Broncos didn't really improve offensively. I mean, yeah, you got your number 1 wide receiver. You've got a couple other guys that, are still coming from last year, from the year prior, right? I'm blanking on the names right now for your wide receivers.
Like Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick.
Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick gets hurt again for the season. Mims, he's a great return specialist in the punt game. So even as a team, as a GM, as a coach, you're looking at that and you're like, okay, yes, he had Nathaniel Hackett, but did they give him any more weapons? And also, you're also looking at the other flip side of that. How much gas does Russell Wilson really have left in the tank? I mean, you look at the offseason in which he came back much slimmer, a little bit more muscular, I guess you could say, for Russ. Once Sean Payton was the head coach, he's like, dude, you got to come back like much slimmer than this. You got to look like a fucking quarterback, right?
You need to drop 15 pounds. I need you to move around.
Yeah, and he dropped 15 pounds. So you can tell that Russ is absolutely like dedicated to almost like not only himself and his career, but honestly, like he's dedicated to his teammates and his coaching staff. Like he's dedicated to the organization that he's in. So
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. If you ask him to lose 5 more pounds, he's like, all right, I'll do that in a week. And on Sunday, he'll come in 5 pounds lighter and you're like, holy shit, he did it. That was a bet. Here's $30, dude. But you know what I mean? Like, do you also look at that as a GM, as an organization, and you're like, yeah, I think we can go with him. But also what you're saying is, yeah, they'll bring him in for the vet minimum, but dude, we're going to get someone who is much younger than you. And, for 4 or 5 years down the road will be the cheapest option we have.
I think a place like Minnesota could maybe make sense, because what you want to do is for Russell Wilson, like he's going to have a sit down and have an honest conversation with his agent and these other teams. And the best thing about this whole thing for Russ is that Russ is going to, like you said, go under the vet minimum. He could essentially make $100,000, $200,000 this season from another team because Denver's paying his salary. So that gives you a lot of flexibility cap wise. So if you go to a team that is only missing a couple pieces and you can get Russ for free, now you can use draft picks in a different way.
Yes,
you can make trades. You can sign, high free agents. So there is like kind of a chance where Russ could do like what Aaron Rodgers did to the Jets, but without costing any money. But I
Mhm.
just don't know if Russell Wilson's good enough to be that. But the good thing is if he goes to a great team like that, then the chances are he's going to at least be over 500. And if they're at least over 500, then maybe he does get a chance to go maybe to a playoff game if he
Mhm.
goes to a great team. But you go, who are the great teams? And they don't need a quarterback. You know,
They
it's like,
don't. They don't.
so you either got to go to, I think it's got to be Pittsburgh. I mean, because the Patriots
Yeah.
and the Steelers are the only teams that make any sense to me. Like, you got Atlanta, who's going to,
No, sorry, keep going. But I was just thinking.
oh yeah, because you got other teams that are the Bears are gonna have Caleb Williams, right? It's very likely it's gonna be Caleb Williams, and then Drake May is gonna go to, or Jaden Daniels is gonna go to the Commanders, and then Drake May is gonna go to the Patriots. So that takes those three off. The
Yeah.
Broncos aren't keeping him, so take us off the list. The other teams are, I guess, Atlanta
Yes.
and
Like Pittsburgh, like you said.
But yeah, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, and the Patriots. But like, who else needs a quarterback besides those 6 teams? Because 3 of them are going for their guy in the draft.
Yeah.
And one of them doesn't want to start the quarterback they draft. So that leans me towards the Steelers, or towards the Patriots. But the Steelers don't even have a top 3 draft. So that's why I think it makes sense that he would go there, because they can't grab one of the elite quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of compromise for Russ. And this next year, he's not going to go into a new place as the guy. That's just not where he's at in his career right now. And like you said, he's 35 years old. He's entering his 13th season in the NFL, but he just doesn't have. It looks like he kind of hit a wall really hard. Potentially, because I mean, this is a guy that made the playoffs 9 of his 10 years in Seattle.
Yeah. He was a machine, dude.
He was an absolute machine. He still boasts the second highest passer rating in the Super Bowl era. And he's the only player in NFL history with at least 40,000 passing yards and 5,000 rushing yards. And so, I mean, his stats show you that at one point he was that guy, but it's like when you're with somebody and it's like, okay, if everybody is having a problem, you might be the problem. Like, because they keep trying to tell me like Sean Payton's not a good coach. I'm like, how is that possible when he led the NFL in offense like 11 of his 13 seasons in New Orleans? How did somebody like that just all of a sudden become an old school coach? I'm not buying that shit at all. So if you're against this move, to me, it's like, I know better than Sean Payton. Like, and the only way you could have that opinion is if you don't even trust Sean Payton. But what we saw last year looked a lot different than what Nathaniel Hackett did, and it looked better. And we actually went on a winning streak, and somehow we're able to pull some of these wins out. So like, before you guys, jump off the Sean Payton bandwagon because your loyalties to Russell Wilson, just remember, we are loyal to the Denver Broncos. Like, whatever has to happen for the Broncos to go back to the playoffs after 9 seasons of not going, like, that's what we should want. That's what we should strive for. And we do believe that the right coach is in power, right? The right person is making these calls. And yeah, this is going to hurt us for a long time. But the only way to move on is to rip the Band-Aid off and save that $35 million of next season, and just try to do whatever we can that Sean Payton thinks will get Denver back to the playoffs, because ultimately that's where our loyalty should be. It should be with winning football games, no matter how that looks. And if you're not like that big of a fan where you could, be like, I don't really care that much about that, I just want to see Russ, win. I want to see Denver win and Russ be happy. It's like, okay, but real big, huge fans, like, we just want to go back to the playoffs.
Yeah, I was going to say playoff football for a fan base is just undefeated.
Yeah, like, that's what we need. And you're telling me that a coach with the resume of Sean Payton says that it's time to pull chalks and get this guy out of town, I have a hard time believing that he's wrong. And that doesn't mean that I'm insensitive, because I love Russ, like you said. And this is the last thing I'll say about it, but I love Russ's personality, his work ethic, the teammate, the man, the father, the husband, everything about Russell Wilson, I absolutely adore, and I wanted him to be successful. I really did. And
Yes.
even like his statement he wrote, he's one of the only players I've ever seen write his own statement. If you, and I'm gonna read it off, because
Yeah, please do.
I could absolutely tell that Russell Wilson wrote this himself. And
Unlimited.
Sierra even put out a statement as well. Okay, so here is the statement from Russell Wilson. It's going to sound a little bit different than ones that we're used to. Okay, so first I'll do the Broncos statement, because that's what came up. We spoke with Russell Wilson today to inform him of his release after the new year. On behalf of the Broncos, we thank Russell for his contributions and dedication to our team and community, because he did do a lot for the community in his time that he was here. Okay, then Russell Wilson wrote this, which does not sound like a PR or an agent wrote it at all. Here we go. Over the last 2 years, you have welcomed my family and me with open arms and have embraced us as members of the Denver community. This city will always hold a special place in my heart. Our family grew here. We made countless memories and friendships and formed relationships that will last a lifetime. To my teammates, thank you for going to battle together and for being there through it all. There's so many great moments I cherish because of you, and I'm blessed for the impact you've made on my life. I'm beyond grateful for all of you and to have been able to run out as your teammate was an honor. Court, talking about Cortland Sutton. I'll never forget your one-handed catch in LA and your toe tap in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Bowles, you were always wrapping your arms around me, win or lose. Garrett Bowles, our offensive lineman. Brandon Johnson, your relentless work ethic. Jerry Jeudy, you snagging and high pointing that ball versus Kansas City. Javante and Tim, y'all have always been positive in the midst of injury, but fighting daily to get back. Jaleel, you running to the end zone every practice. I still think Burton's got you, though. Alex, from picking you up years ago to seeing you shine, to the O-line dinners at Los Das. I'll never forget Wendy and Brandy in the cafeteria bringing the food, the good food, and even better jams. Thank you for always being uplifting. And finally, to Ray, a.k.a. Pastor Ray Jackson, thank you for your countless prayers daily, to give God the praise daily, and getting on the floor to thank Jesus for breath in the good times and the bad times. Tough people, tough times don't last, but tough people do. God's got me, and I'm excited for what's next. He wrote that.
Yeah.
He wrote that. I mean, that going through these memories and players, and it was just like, man, I just wish it could have worked. I mean, that's really like, that's my biggest takeaway. Like, I wish it would have worked, but it didn't. And I'm on board with whatever is coming next. And I absolutely hope Russell Wilson, hold on. I was going to say, I hope he absolutely crushes it where he goes. And I do, but wouldn't that just be like,
it would suck.
Oh my God, dude.
It would suck if he went to the playoffs the year he left the Broncos.
What if he's just really good, and then it's like, oh my God, Sean, he was wrong, and so was Nathaniel Hackett.
What did you do, you dipshit? No, and like that statement right there, man, like that is just Russell Wilson. That is who led the Seattle Seahawks to a Super Bowl. Obviously, they had a great defense, but I mean, he was one of the guys there. He made the playoffs 9 out of the 10 times, like you said. That's just who he is. But as much as we love the guy too, like as much as great of a human being he is, which he is, I really don't have any doubts about that. You have to go back to what Sean Payton said. Hey man, you're not running for fucking president. You're trying to win the Super Bowl on an NFL football team. Play like you're, out, like you want to play, like you want to win a Super Bowl. Play like you're the leader of this team. That's how you do it. How you
Right.
did it in Seattle. That's how you do it. I'm sure all of this, the great human being that he is, has been cultivated through all of this time in the NFL, probably starting in his college days and even before that. But it's just, unfortunately, that isn't going to win you a Super Bowl. The alpha dog, right, in him would have taken that 4th and 4 game 1 of last season, not this past season, 2022, and been like, put the ball in my hands, coach. We have 20 seconds left. We can get this a lot closer than 65 yards for a field goal, right? Like we
Right.
can do that. But again, you can't say anything bad about his character. He's just a great human being in general.
Is it the worst trade ever? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say, unfortunately, yes. But the Deshaun Watson one is still.
I'm going with
still
that.
There.
Cleveland
it's still
gave
there.
up 3 first-round picks, a third, and a fourth. Guaranteed $230 million for a guy that's played 12 of the 34 games since he was acquired, and his EPA CPOE composite score ranks 35th in the last 2 years, and he might be suspended all next season. So I think in time that Deshaun Watson deal is going to be maybe a little worse. Maybe
it may be. What makes the one and the fact that it's all guaranteed is just like, oh God, Browns, you guys were so desperate. But as of right now, this Russ one with the $85 million cap hit, that's a record. That's an NFL record.
We're breaking records, baby.
In the worst way. It sucks. Because, like you said, it kind of puts the Broncos in a shitty position over the next couple seasons, money-wise, cap-wise, right? But like you said, you got to rip the Band-Aid off, man, at one point. Just like I am with the Bears. Hey, we drafted Trubisky. Okay, are we going to extend them? Fuck no. We're going to release him. We're going to trade him. We're going to let him go into free agency. Are we going to do the same with, Justin Fields? Probably. But at one point, you have to rip the Band-Aid, look back at the fan base and say, hey, yeah, we fucked up, but hey, from here on out, we don't really have to deal with that problem, except, money-wise for the next couple seasons. You can't go complaining that Russ is the problem next season when he's not on the team. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So like you said, you got to rip the Band-Aid off, and to kind of go back to, landing places. Bill has a very interesting comment here. I don't want to throw this out here, but someone said the Giants would be a good place for him to land with DJ on the outs, which has been reported, and Russ would be cheaper than Tyrod. But
he doesn't see that.
Yeah, he doesn't see it long term. But Russ, I think, is in a, he's someone who can definitely handle the New York media. He's definitely someone who, like Bill said, will come at the veteran minimum and be a lot cheaper. Because he's already making a ton of money. And maybe that veteran leadership kind of carries over onto the rest of the offense. I mean, they're not bringing Saquon back, which sucks. But again, Band-Aid's got to be ripped, right?
Yeah, the Band-Aid's got to be ripped. And also, it's important to keep in mind, and Bill, I didn't even see that comment. So this is actually what I'm saying here. Mm-hmm. I've been super poor. I mean, I've been super, super poor. And when I didn't have any money, this is when I lived in Wynwood of Miami. When I didn't have any money, you get really creative. You start being able to, if I get a bag of rice, you start getting very when you use things really well, like MacGyver, what is he? Resourceful. You become super resourceful. And I think Denver, although this feels like, oh, we lost all this money, I think we can make up for that with creativity and flexibility because of the ownership being as rich as they are.
And you got the coach.
So Sean's gonna, be able to draft, and it's sad, but there's kind of an era coming to an end before our eyes. Jerry Jeudy's probably not staying on the team. Jerry Jeudy's probably going to get his. I don't know. He could get traded during the draft. I really feel like that's going to happen.
Yeah, I could see that.
And then Denver would move up with that pick and draft the wide receiver that they want. But we're kind of getting into that time period where the only people I could see Sean really paying is the offensive line and Patrick Surtain. And everybody else is unfortunately for sale, which is sad because I love Justin Simmons. I mean, I was still living in Miami when Justin Simmons was drafted. I've been in the military. Like, I've done a lot since then.
And he's been the constant.
Yeah, and Justin Simmons has been I think he's the oldest active player on the team right now, but it's just getting to that time where we're going to go fully into a Sean Payton era, because remember, he inherited this team, and he also inherited this awful contract that you mentioned. It was good when it was offered, but it was offered before he played a single game with Denver. And yeah, I think that we're going to be okay. I don't feel like this money we're losing is going to, like, 2 years from now, we're going to look back on this and be like, I didn't really notice any difference. Like, as a fan, like, whatever, you buy into the players that are on the field. And if a lot of those guys have to make a name for themselves because we can't afford high price free agents, I still think Sean will scout the right people and put the right people on.
Yeah. And like you said, resourceful. I think that the draft is going to be one thing that, like you said, can you trade Jerry Jeudy for a 6th rounder, a 5th rounder? Yeah, probably. You absolutely probably can. And what you do with that 5th or 6th rounder, whatever it may be, that's got to be your resourcefulness. That's got to be how you get back into, like, hey, this guy is just like Puka Nacua. This guy is just like Kyron Williams. You get them in the later rounds and they explode on the offense.
That's hot.
That is low-key hot. They just explode all over Sean Payton's offense. And Sean Payton's like, oh my God, this is awesome. You know what I mean? So it could happen. You got to be crafty that way.
Yeah. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give Rick a break after that. Explode all over.
You got some change for a cab.
Yeah, dude. It is what it is. And Russell Wilson on his way out. So I guess one last thing that we can shift to, because it's a topic worth talking about, is who do you see Denver replacing him with? I mean, what are the options? You got Justin Fields, and then you got moving up, but the top 3 people want a quarterback, so that's not going to happen. Yeah. Unless the Bears, if the Bears don't, it's so confusing. If the Bears do want to draft a quarterback, then they would be trading Justin Fields. But if they want to stick with Justin Fields, then Denver would be a trade up candidate. But I don't know if Sean would be willing to give up 3 first-round picks to the Bears for Caleb Williams.
How about 2 and Cortland Sutton?
Yeah. For
the number 1 overall pick this year. 2 1s and Cortland Sutton. I think that's what I think
it's a good deal.
Carolina did.
It's a good deal, but if Caleb Williams doesn't work out, it's like
that's 2 in a row.
It's gonna, well, dude, that's like 10 in a row. But it's like it would suck for the final 2 years. It would suck to not have because we haven't had a first round pick the last 2 years, so we would be doing it all over again.
Yeah, and you don't want to do that. You almost want to, if you're the Broncos, you almost want to ride with who's your guy right now?
No. Stidham?
No. I mean, look, I'm not look. Hold on. What I'm saying is, you have the coach, you have the money, you're going to be in cap hell for a couple seasons. You're not going to turn this around in one off season, Kyle. You're not. The Broncos are just not. Are they going to take steps? Look, are they going to take steps? Absolutely, through the draft. I just, like you said, you cannot not have first round picks for the next 2 seasons on top of what you've already endured with the Russell Wilson trade. I just don't think for what's your GM's name? George Payton?
Yeah. I can't believe it.
You can't do that. If he did that, And like you said, Caleb Williams really doesn't pan out. And now you are sitting there with your dick in your hand for the next 2 drafts with no first round picks. We're like, you Broncos fans are going to be like,
Watching
who the
Caleb
fuck?
Williams highlights.
Yeah, like who the fuck is this guy at GM and why does he still have a job? So
Right.
look,
People already feel that way.
Yeah, do you have to go with Jarrett Stidham? No. Can you get another quarterback? Sure, but I mean, what other quarterbacks are out there, right? Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, but he's gonna want money.
Well,
he's gonna want cash.
How much we talking here?
I mean, I don't think anything that would justify the Broncos giving
we can't
it to him.
Anything right now. But I think Justin Fields we could trade for. We could give like a 3rd round pick.
No, I think you'd have to give that minimum a 2nd.
I think you're gonna be really disappointed when
I'm already disappointed because the market for him has already cooled within the last 3 days. Over the combine, it has cooled immensely. The Steelers are out because just all the reports that have been coming out. Like the Steelers are already out of the Justin Fields.
They said that?
Yeah.
Did some writer say that?
I think it's been reported from an inside source. And I'm not saying, it can't happen because the Steelers could be playing, just like, they could have a poker face on. Who knows?
He's starting somewhere next year, 100%.
Yes, possibly. And we got legs, E-Dub in the chat. Here's the thing. I just don't know, man. Because if the Bears can't get at least a 2nd rounder, I don't know why you would go more.
It's going to be probably JJ McCarthy.
Bo Nix.
I don't think Bo Nix.
Penix.
I don't know. I don't know. Sean knows.
Out of those 3, if you ask me to draft out of one of those 3 guys, I think I'm probably going Penix, McCarthy, and then Nix.
Yeah, I would go. Yeah, I'm in that kind of similar order. I like what the versatility that Penix offers. But JJ McCarthy might be to Sean because he's been compared to like Drew Brees type of a quarterback.
I've heard that as well.
If that's something that Sean's like, this looks familiar enough, kind of like how Jason Kelce picked his replacement. If this is somebody that, looks even similar, Sean will probably get too nostalgic to pass up on him because Sean, it's felt like my one critique is it's like he's recreating the Saints, but in Denver. He's hiring all the coaches. He brought in, Adam Trotman and these other ex-Saints that could go down a list. You wouldn't know a lot of them, but I just hope and I'm trusting that Sean's not chasing after an old thing in a new season, right? Because the NFL changes and it evolves. And if he's on this chase for what was, then we're going to miss out on what could be. So yeah, I think it's likely that Denver's going to make a trade for either Justin Fields or there's going to be a quarterback drafted. And if Sean feels like the best quarterback is not one of the top 3, he's not going to say anything about it.
Yeah.
He felt strongly about Patrick Mahomes as well. Him and Andy Reid were the only 2 people that came out, and the Saints were about to draft him too. And I know a lot of people say that, but people close to Sean confirmed that he was high on him. And look where Patrick Mahomes fell to. Maybe he feels like JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, or what's his name, Penix, are actually one of those is the top 2 quarterback.
And so I will say too, even if they let's say they trade for Justin Fields, Justin Fields going to his 4th year. He's got a 5th-year option, right? Are you going to pay that 5th-year option if he does play well enough? Because again, the Broncos are in money hell right now. If you pick up that 5th-year option, okay, sure, you could probably afford that, but what can't you afford with that?
They
right?
could probably put a lot of the contract money though, like, oh, you're going to be playing for like $7 million this year, but next year you're going to get 30.
Yeah, and that's probably something they would do, like you said, because of what the next 2 seasons for the cap looks like. And Bill makes a really good suggestion here: Brissett, Flacco,
No,
Darnold.
no, 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 no,
Those guys are
no.
going to be cheap, though. Those guys are going to
I
be
don't
cheap.
know.
Not
Stop that. I
Flacco.
rebuke that. I
Maybe not
rebuke.
Flacco. Maybe
No,
not Flacco.
stop. We we already did Flacco. We did
Yeah.
Case Keenum. We did Teddy Bridgewater. We've already done these type of quarterbacks. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, you guys! If I saw that Denver's going with Jacoby Brissett or Teddy Bridgewater, Joe Flacco, I would be so mad because I'd rather have Russ if we were gonna do that. It has to be
That's
somebody
true.
new and exciting that we know nothing about. Otherwise, why wouldn't we have stayed with Russ? That's why I don't believe that would happen.
Bill
Because
doesn't
we
think
just
JJ McCarthy's dropping to 12, though.
ooh, well maybe Denver's jumping to 9. Ooh.
Oh, the combine showed a lot for JJ McCarthy, apparently.
Yeah,
But
and my favorite running back too,
who's that?
Trey Benson from Florida
Trey
State.
Benson. Oh, okay.
He ran a 4. He was the only running back in his group that ran a 4.3. Or no, there's one
Wow.
other. He ran a 4.37, I believe.
Wow. Yeah, we'll get into the combine here in a bit, but yeah, I kind of agree with you. I like the when I'll go back to with the Bears when they drafted Justin Fields. I loved it because I was like, it's not Mitchell Trubisky and it's not Nick Foles. Cool. I love it. I don't care what it is. I love the fact that we're getting someone who can be molded into a possible franchise quarterback. So I totally understand where you're coming from with that. Again, it's just like, out of those three, you're going JJ McCarthy over Penix and Bo Nix, right? You'd rather have him?
Yeah, I didn't like what I saw for God. We are so far apart on this. We are so far apart.
Sorry, go ahead with JJ McCarthy.
It reminds me of Ted, where when the kidnapper's trying to steal Ted, he's like, I can give you love and then he offered some other weird thing, and Ted's like, I think we're very far apart on this.
Yeah, the dad or whatever. Yeah.
It was between that or Muhammad. Why the fuck would it be between that or Muhammad? No, I
It
don't
was
want
between Bo Nix and Penix. Why the fuck would it?
No, that would be better than
Yeah.
Bridgewater and
It's between Darnold and Flacco. No, why?
Yeah, no, I'm out on free agent quarterbacks. It's official. It is. The only one I would be interested in is Justin Fields. That is it. But I just what I saw from the national championship from Penix didn't look great. And I didn't watch, I guess, we don't do college like we do NFL. Like we watch every NFL game.
Yeah.
So when I tuned in, it was like a chance for a first impression to be made, and it was just a strong impression, not in a great way. So I think that lingers with me a little bit. And then with Bo Nix, and I'm not afraid to admit it, the Oregon quarterback, the Marcus Mariota, I compare in my head Bo Nix to Marcus Mariota. And Marcus Mariota was really good in Oregon, and he was the number 2 overall pick. Bo Nix isn't even as highly recruited as he was. So
yeah, that's because Bo Nix is like 30 years old. He was in college for 10 years.
Oh, great. He's going to get drafted, and it's like, all right, we're going to give you a 6-year deal because then you're going to be retired.
Fuck it. Why not?
Yeah, I guess JJ McCarthy winning a national championship, he's the one out of those 3 that I don't really have any feelings on. So I guess I would be
pretty
leaning
neutral
that
on
way.
it.
Yeah, I think I would lean that way, but
yeah,
I really would much rather have Justin Fields, to be honest.
Yeah, and again, I just think, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I think polls and even me, like, if I'm not at least getting a second round pick for Justin Fields at the minimum, then to be honest, I'll keep him on the fucking roster at that point. I'll keep him on the roster. Sure. Like I'll draft Caleb Williams. I'll keep Justin Fields on the roster.
But
if I'm not
fucked up.
I mean, sure, it's fucked up, but also like this is the NFL, baby. This is a business,
peacock.
baby.
You gotta let him. You gotta let him fly.
You gotta let me fly, Captain.
That's like when you're dating somebody and you're like, I don't love you enough to marry you, but I still want to date other people. But I don't want you to leave. It's like, dude, you can't have the best of both worlds. Either stick with Justin Fields or draft your next guy, but you can't keep him on the bench watching the Bears' new girlfriend. Like, that's weird. Like, you're gonna make him sit there and watch. Come on.
And no, watch, you little cuckold.
Yeah.
I feel the same way that you feel about Russell, about Justin Fields, man. I hope he succeeds wherever he goes. I mean, not that much, but I do hope he, is still a good quarterback.
Feel, right?
Yeah. Where I'm just like, I am still like, he is very much an NFL quarterback, with like his skill set and what he's shown. Like he could absolutely still be an NFL quarterback. I just don't think he could do it on the Bears. I just really don't. All 3 years he has been hurt. He has been injured. There's times where I just don't see like the anticipation on throws. There's times where I don't see a lot of things that quarterbacks nowadays, your fucking CJ Strouds and your Patrick Mahomes and all these guys like have. So I for polls, if we're not getting at least a second round for Fields, I think we'll keep him on the books. Sure. We'll keep him on the roster, and maybe it'll start to heat up a little bit later after the draft, whatever. Yeah, I think a second rounder should be fine for Fields, but as far as replacements for Russell Wilson, oh God, I think you guys are going the free agent route. I think you guys will draft somebody, but I think you guys are going the free agent route as well.
We're either sticking with the quarterbacks that we have on the roster, Jared Stidham, or we're drafting. I'm telling you, they're not going to bring in a free agent.
You don't think so?
No, they would have stuck with Russ. I think they would have just stuck it out with Russ.
Well, yeah, especially with the money they were already going to give him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, there's got to be something new, exciting ahead, and I'm stoked to figure out what it is. But yeah, let's move right into the combine, because the combine is the place where you can find that replacement.
And Kyle was boots on the ground, interviewing players, having dinner with them at their homes.
Getting into a local spot that McAfee likes to go to, but
he was there.
He was there, and I could see him. I saw my dad there. It's been a while. Rich Eisen was up in the in the booth, and
how was that? Because that whole atmosphere, we'll kind of get into obviously the combine here in a bit, but that atmosphere,
let's talk about the atmosphere, because most people don't go to the combine. So
the combine is a cool atmosphere to be in, because you got all these people from across the NFL there. So Kyle, like you said, you saw Rich Eisen, you saw Pat McAfee. Who else did you see, and what was it like?
So I saw them too. I saw Sean Payton was there.
No,
I swear.
Wow. I mean, all the coaches were there, yeah, but I was just like, wow.
The ones I saw was him, Mike McDaniels. I saw Jim Harbaugh with his, I think his son or daughter, I can't remember, but sitting next to him. Okay. And I remember looking around, because they had us sitting in like this one, like, I guess this kind of quarter part of the stadium, but the rest was empty. So they would show him up on the big screen, and I'm like, where is he? Because I can kind of see like
where they're
out
at.
And see, okay, blue shirt. Where's the blue shirt? And I still, it's still a mystery. So I saw him on the big screen. He was there in the building, and he was sitting somewhere around that I couldn't find. But
he was behind Kyle the whole time.
It was cool, man. Like as soon as, that's the one place I didn't look. The coolest part though was this kid sitting in front of me, I was able to get him an autograph from Chris Carter, Hall of Fame wide receiver from the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris Carter like was walking by and somebody threw him a football and he like signed it and threw it back. And then he came up into the stands and I was like, go get it, go get the autograph. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, just run down there. And he runs down there and he signs his football. And
Yeah.
then I like told him how to preserve the football because it wasn't like a real leather football. So I was like, dude,
Oh,
make sure
yeah.
you put this in like a glass case because it was a darker rubber football.
Mhm.
And it was cool. They were Bengal fans in front of us, and it was a dad, a grandfather, and a son. It was awesome.
That's
Um,
cool.
and we talked about Joe Burrow, and they think that things are rigged, and I told them that they're not. You know, it's not it's just
Except the
Mahomes
MVP
is good.
vote.
Yeah, except the MVP vote. There was a lot of sports debating going on. It was probably my favorite part. We went out after to this bar called Brothers and we shot pool for like 3 hours and drank whiskey gingers and had a good time. And then we went to a dive bar
Nice.
and
Nice.
it was one of those old school like the place was closed, but she let us keep drinking while she did her mopping and stuff, you know,
Nice. Nice.
music and awesome. And then we went back to the Holiday Inn where we were done for the night and there was a bar open there. And we went and
Oh, shit.
some lady smacked the shit out of this guy. I'm sitting here having a debate with him. He actually subscribed to our podcast. If you're listening, what's up, dude?
Oh,
Um,
no.
and we're like
Oh,
talking,
God.
having great conversation.
Yeah.
Um, he sounded like he was from New Orleans, but I don't know. I never got.
Nolans?
Yeah, he kind of had
Mhm.
that New Orleans draw, and we were talking for a while, and then all of a sudden he got up and tried to go to the seat right next to me. And I wasn't
Mhm.
listening because I'm fighting with my uncle about this Sean Payton, Russell Wilson stuff. And then all of a sudden I hear smack. And
Oh,
I'm like, "What?"
no.
I turn around. I'm like, "What the fuck happened? We were all just sitting here." And apparently, like, he asked for the seat and she didn't like the way he was talking to her, so she smacked him. And then he called the police and it was a whole thing. It
Whole
was
thing.
awesome though. It was
That's
so cool.
hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, all the people that came into town for the combine, you could tell like there was a buzz going around the city, like the combine's here.
Mhm.
You know, even when we had brunch, it's like you know that there's like executives and people, you know, out having lunch, looking at their notes. I mean, it's all just kind of like in your face, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
I got
It's
an
football for like a week, right?
yeah, yeah, and I
Yeah.
got a sweater. It says, NFL Combine. I'm gonna I'm gonna wear it next time because I went to the
Okay.
gym in it yesterday.
Okay.
But it's super
Sick.
dope. It was like
Sick.
$80, but
Of
it's
course.
one of those things that you'll have for your whole life, you know? It's like
Yeah.
you can only get this well, you could probably order online, but I got mine at the damn combine. So, it was cool.
Legit.
Peyton Manning
Was
statues out there. Pat McAfee game used helmet was outside.
Oh,
Every Super
wow.
Bowl ring was transported outside. They had all these big helmets that you could take a picture next to. And I do have a couple pictures of the helmet. Here's the one of the helmet right here. And
Nice.
that was pretty cool. And here's me next to the Peyton Manning statue at
Nice.
Lucas Oil. This was right outside. And then
Kyle's on the right, everyone.
yeah. And then this is my uncle. He's having the time of his life.
That's
Uh,
sick, man.
so yeah, it was a great time. But yeah, the coolest part was that it happened to be a world record the day that I went. The day that I went,
Yeah.
we had the fastest 40-yard dash that we've
Yep.
ever seen. That was pretty freaking cool. A lot of running backs we saw, they started. So there was like Trey Benson and then the running back from Michigan. Everybody loved him. Like
Oh, yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah.
everyone's favorite. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody was like, he's the best, running back that's available. And then some people were big on that Texas running back. But I was like, dude, Trey Benson's the best running back in this draft. And they're
Who
like, what are you
was it?
talking about?
Who
And then
was
Trey
the biggest
Benson went
one?
out and ran a 4.37. And it was like, yeah,
Insanity. Yeah. Well,
because well, one last thing. What was surprising was that most running backs were running like 4.6s, 4.7s. Like, it's not like the highlight reel you see on TV. If that makes sense. So when he ran a 4.3, it was a big deal. It wasn't just like, oh, he ran a 4.3. It was like, damn, because when you watch it long enough, I swear to God, like, even though the difference is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 of a second, you can see it and go, that's 4.3 speed. That's 4.4. That's 4.5, 4.6, 4.7. Like, I mean, you might be a little bit wrong, but you really do start to see the difference when you're watching it. And I knew when Trey Benson was running it, I was like, that's a 4.3 all day.
Really? Kyle was out there with like, this is what you got to do. Like, if you ever go again,
I got the binoculars.
You got to get the binoculars. You have to have like a little timer thing. You got to be like chewing gum really hard. Like Pete Carroll, just, yep, that's a 4.3 right there.
Taking notes. Be all jacked up on Adderall, just fucking
and just gonna make your way onto the field and just be like, what do you think about this guy? I heard he's gonna
just there was one guy, there was a mom and a son, and the mom looked like she was probably like 40 and the kid was like 7, and they both had a notebook open. And I went to the bathroom, and I was like, as I was scooting by, I kind of like looked at the pad, because when I came in I saw it, but I didn't look, and I was curious like if they were taking notes of the combine, right? So like I'm scooting out, and I look down, and I'm like, they're literally taking notes. And I was just so surprised, like, because everyone else was just sitting there enjoying themselves. A lot of people like did it as a family event, because it's very like, bring your kids and they can, compete in a fake combine and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, I totally want to do it. And I was like, I can't, it's only kids. So I didn't do it, but I did do the arm thing. And my wingspan was comparable to a person that's 6'5".
No shit.
Because it was like 85-inch wingspan, but I'm 71 inches tall.
You could be a wide receiver, dude.
Yeah, or a boxer or swimmer or something where long arms come in handy. But when I was super skinny as a kid, they looked like noodles. They were just like always like these noodles just hanging down.
You were dragging your knuckles on the floor when walking,
scratching my knee while standing without bending.
This guy right here could be an athlete.
But yeah, it was crazy. And did you see the wide receiver? What was it? Darius Worthy, that broke that record running a 4.21.
No, it was Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy. That's right. There was a lot of names.
Oh yeah, I bet. Like there must have been just like a ton of players there. And Kyle, hey, look, I if I was at the combine, I would be just as like in awe about it, like the atmosphere, like, oh my God, there's coaches over here. There's all these NFL personalities here. They're eating at the same restaurants I'm eating at. There's an executive over there with his notebook taking notes. And then you get to the combine and Kyle kind of solidified it for me. Like, yeah, it's cool. You saw history, but I mean, it's just a bunch of dudes running around doing cone drills. So
yeah, it's definitely like to be honest, after like I was there for like 2.5, 3 hours, and then I was like, do you want to go grab a beer? I mean, I had a beer at the combine, but it's like, I'm like standing in line. It takes 25 minutes. The only beer they offer is Bud Light, which is fine, but I'm not, this is before any controversy. I just never liked Bud Light. I was always a Miller Lite guy. Same. So I'm like I'm standing in this long line, and I'm spending like $20 on a beer I don't want. Yeah. So I'm like, I think we've seen enough 40-yard dashes. Like, and then you're right. Like, it is just them running drills. So we went out and went into the city, and it's a college town, man. Like, when we were trying to find a place to go, like, it felt like the city was dead. But At
Really?
like
Wow.
8:39, it came to life, and literally this place
Mm.
flooded. It was so packed, they had to take the bar stools into the back to make more room around the bar.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was super busy, and they all went to Indiana State or,
Mhm.
like, 3 other colleges, but you could tell, like, this is a college town. Everybody was younger,
Yeah.
and I always like being in college towns, um, especially, like, when I'm visiting for something,
'Cause you
'cause
could kinda see, like, the nightlife more or less at that point, which is kinda cool.
yeah, because anytime I go to a new city, it's like, okay, what are they known for? Like, we got that sandwich that Indy's known for, the big, huge, like, pork one that, like, sticks out. It's like breaded
Oh,
pork. It's, like, really big in the bun.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
I
don't know
think
the
they
name
gave
of it,
it
but
to
I've
us,
heard of
like,
it.
in the cafeteria at school, like, but just not as
Yeah.
big.
No,
Uh,
nowhere near as big.
and it was, yeah, like you said, I like to eat the food and, okay,
Mhm.
what are you guys known for? And then go to that, whatever that is, and just experience the city because I've been as a flight attendant, I've been to a lot of cities, but I never really like been in and out of Indianapolis like that. So,
I mean,
um,
who has really?
yeah, well, there was actually like a lot of parts of it that I was like,
Yeah.
this area seems nice. Like I wouldn't want to live there, uh
Mhm.
but I could understand why some people that have never lived in a major city like Chicago or Miami would be like, "This is all the city I need," because
True,
you do have, like, all of the social interaction that you could want, and
true.
there's plenty of bars, and the one thing is they didn't have any smoke shops, which was weird. I was like, is that
Huh.
banned here?" And they were like,
That's
"No."
really weird. You
Yeah,
see
I
that
was
in
like
every city.
in every city, it's like
Yeah,
downtown. I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, okay, interesting." And then I kept asking for a pool table and nobody knew. And I was like, "Guys, pool. Where do you guys play pool?" And they're like, "Oh, man." And I asked like 5 different people. Then one guy goes, we passed a place called Brothers and went into this other bar. And I'm like, "Do you guys have a pool table?" And they're like, "No." And I was like, "What about your neighbor, Brothers?" And they're like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "You don't know?
How
That's
do
your
you not know this
neighbor.
stuff? Yeah.
That's your neighbor. How do you not know?" So
What a
we went over
weird
there.
concept.
Yeah, it was weird. It was kinda like the vape thing. So
Yeah.
we went in there and they were like, "Yeah, we had the pool table." But later when I was talking to the bartender, she said that this was just built last month. So that's why people didn't know.
Oh, okay. But
It was
still, like, the fact that you don't know what, like, you don't know what pool, like, okay, maybe we'll call it billiards, but
well,
pool? It's
yeah.
pool. Like,
Well,
it's
they kept
fucking pool.
I don't know, the way they kept talking about it made it sound like I wanted to go to, like, a billiards lounge and, like, gamble. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "No, I just" when you're drinking and shooting pool, like
And they're like, "You mean billiards,
y
right?"
yeah,
And you're like, "Get
exactly.
the fuck out of here. You're Indianapolis. Settle down." Pat McAfee's there, but settle down, all right?
Yeah,
Settle down. So,
it was a great time.
I love that because you kinda set it out for us, and it's pretty cool. Like, I do eventually wanna go to the NFL Combine, and, I don't necessarily wanna be at the Combine for, my entire day because it's cool to go to another city. When we first got here, I live in Washington, went to Seattle, and, me coming from Chicago, I was like, "I need to be in a city setting right now. Like, I need it. I can't do this small town shit anymore." Because
Yeah,
Jacksonville, Florida, not really the vibe. If you're looking for big city vibes,
you
you're
gotta live in Riverside. That's the only area that you're gonna
yeah,
get even a type of feeling. It's very
yeah, because
artsy over there.
Jacksonville is very neighborhoody and artsy, like you said. The big city part, almost non-existent. Whereas
Very suburban.
Seattle, very suburban, yeah, and it takes a half hour to get everywhere. Seattle, I was like, I went downtown. My wife and I went downtown, and we had a really good time. And it was like, oh man, this is like Chicago, right? Like, you got all these restaurants, you got all these places to go, you got bars, you got bowling, you got this, you got that. Like, I don't know, it was just really cool. So I
I
think it's just one of those things that you have to experience whenever you go to a new city.
Yeah, but it's weird because, like, I grew up in Jacksonville from, like, 8 to 16. Those were, like, f fundamental years of my youth, and that's where I played football. That's where I
Mhm.
like, that's where I learned everything, and when I go back to it, it's like, I can't really put my finger on what I loved, but that's because I guess that's because like all of my friends, it was my friends. It
I think
wasn't the
so.
city,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize that because I'm
Yeah.
like Jacksonville. Like I'd
Was
rather
cool.
be in Miami.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny though, like how you think you love a place, but really you just love the people
And
that
the memories.
yeah, the memories and
Yeah.
not even like the people. Like this is just middle school and high school, but I didn't realize at the time. Like if you would have asked me like, "Are you happy in Jacksonville?" I would have said, "Yeah." I mean, it's awesome. It's okay. I don't really think about it. I just am
It
here.
was it was cool.
And then going back on it, it's like, oh, Jacksonville. I wouldn't really want to live here.
Well, and that was the thing. Like again, coming from Chicago when I was in Jacksonville, because I was in Florida for like almost a year, about a year, right? And Jacksonville, I went from Pensacola to Jacksonville, and I was like, oh, Jacksonville, it's got a downtown, it's got a bigger city, like sweet. It's gonna have. Went downtown, and by like 8 p.m., no one
Dead.
was on the street, dead, just
No,
dead,
there's no nightlife unless
no
you're in
nightlife.
Riverside, 5
Yeah,
Point.
and 5 Points. There's a couple other neighborhoods. So
Jack's
Jacksonville is very
Beach is alive
neighborhoody.
at night
Jack's
too.
Beach is very alive. Yeah, 100%. So
That's
yeah, yeah,
it.
and that's it.
That's it.
But yeah, so Indianapolis, definitely on my bucket list to go check out, especially during the combine, to kind of get that feeling that you were saying that was in the air. But kind of shifting focus back to like the combine. We talked about Xavier Howard, breaking the record for fastest 40-yard dash. It did, even with that, we've seen fast players and they haven't really stuck around long. Like Chris Johnson, the running back for Tennessee Titans, was probably the one stuck around the longest out of like the top 10 fastest 40s. Do you see Xavier Worthy kind of sneaking into the first round, maybe to like a Kansas City, maybe to like a Raiders because they love their fast players? No, I'm just kidding. But like a later first round type
They
of pick
do.
now? They do, though. They do.
The Raiders love their fast player. Henry Ruggs,
Yep. Henry Ruggs.
fastest in his combine that year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just
I
like
mean,
his cards.
yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look at I guess the projections of where he's at right now, it says he's ranked third. The 2024 combine wide receiver, he ranks first in the
Yeah.
athleticism score, and his production
Oh, okay.
ranks fifth. So I'm gonna see right now, just because he wasn't a name that I even really knew before he broke that record, to be totally honest.
No,
Did you
me
know
neither.
of him before?
No, me neither. And the fact that he's coming from Texas too is just like surprising, because Texas was still, I feel like in college football, circles was one of those schools that was like, kind of on the up and up. They were beating some teams. They looked good. I mean, they were ranked number 3, number 4, or whatever in the college playoffs. And you didn't really hear about their wide receiver. You kind of just heard more about the team. So Xavier Worthy, the fact that he was able to do this is surprising.
Yeah, like Washington, we knew about Rome on Dunes.
Rome Odunze.
We knew about Polk, Jalen Polk.
Michael Penix, yeah.
Marvin Harrison Jr.,
of
right?
course, yeah.
Malik Neighbors from LSU, Brian Thomas. But yeah, Xavier Worth is right there. I think Xavier Worthy will go in the first round, but I think it's going to be late. I think he's going to be the 5th and last wide receiver taken, probably in the first.
In the first round. Okay, I like that, because a lot of people were
too.
Okay, because a lot of people were saying too, like his speed is great, but you bring him into a sort of a Kansas City team, a very established team. Maybe what you can do with that speed is now turn him into not only a deep threat, but you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes there throwing you the ball. You almost become like a much better receiver than what you went into the combine and into the draft as. So you can come back, and maybe have a pretty solid career with one of the best quarterbacks of our time. So that's kind of what I was thinking. That's one of those things that I was reading about with Xavier Worthy. So I think maybe he did play himself into the first round, but I can absolutely see, like you said, him going in the second round. Like,
Yeah.
Probably late.
And I'm on PFF because
Mhm.
I signed up. I'm actually going to sign in because I can give you guys stuff that you would normally have to pay for.
Oh wow, he's giving us that OnlyFans exclusive right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, 100%.
All right, I'm logged in, baby.
Let's do
Okay.
it.
So they did a stock report on, I guess, the players from every position.
Mhm,
So here we go. These are the people that their stock is going up. Kendon Slovis from BYU.
mhm.
On-field testing doesn't matter for quarterbacks nearly as much as the other positions on this list, so there aren't many true winners and losers here. With that being said, Slovis turned in an excellent performance in Indianapolis. Even though he's been a pocket passer throughout his career, his 4.55 second 40-yard dash is in the 94th percentile for quarterbacks. Slovis'
Oh, shit.
9'10" broad jump ranked in the 84th percentile as well. While still unlikely to be drafted, this showing could have some teams re-evaluating his tape. Stock down, Spencer Radler.
Yeah, I heard about this. Yeah.
Radler's stock won't actually be affected by his combine performance, but he didn't test particularly well.
Yeah.
His 4.95 second 40-yard dash was in the 20th percentile for quarterbacks, despite measuring only 6 foot, 211 pounds. His 9-foot broad jump was also in the 32nd percentile, while his
Ugh.
7.21 second three cone was in the 28th percentile.
You had offensive linemen and defensive linemen jumping
Oh,
further than that in broad jumps. Like, that's crazy.
that's like, yeah, because they're not athletic. I mean,
That's facts. That's facts.
this is not. I mean, it's like there's levels to this shit.
There's levels to this shit. Go ahead.
Stock up Isaac Gurendo from Louisville. I saw him run his. He started right away. I think he was the first running back.
Really?
He posted one of the best combine performances we've ever seen by a running back. He ran a 4.33 second 40-yard dash and posted a 41.5-inch vertical jump, each ranked in the 98th percentile for running backs. He also had a 10'9"
Wow.
broad jump, and that's in the 96th percentile. The senior did all that while showcasing great size for the position at 6 feet, 221 pounds. Despite not even being Louisville's top back, Gurendo could
Mhm.
hear his name called early on day 3 after his performance.
Ooh.
So
Good value there too, day 3.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
He reminds me of like Devon Achane from last year.
A-chain, and that's what it is. Love it.
And then I'll just go through a couple more. Bucky Irving from Oregon, his stock is down.
Mhm.
He's very small for the position. He's 5'9", 192, and he ranked in the 5th percentile for running backs. Stock up. Adonai Mitchell from Texas. Mitchell was seen as an early second round
Oh,
prospect,
yeah.
and he ran a 4.34. He had a broad jump of 11'4"
Mhm.
and a vertical jump of 39.5 inches. He's comparable to DK Metcalf, where he's at
Oh,
right now.
wow.
He's 6'2", 205 pounds. Isaiah Williams, stock down. Theo Johnson, stock up, the tight end out of Penn State. He tested in the 90th percentile, the 93rd percentile, and the 97th.
Ooh.
So he's an athlete. I mean, his broad jump was in the 93rd percentile, and his
Did
vertical was all the way in the 97th percentile.
and Brock Bowers did participate in the combine, correct? Or was he one of those notable guys who did not? Do you remember it all?
I don't remember because I didn't see tight ends.
Oh, okay,
It was
okay.
just running backs and quarterbacks, and I think and wide receivers. That was it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's worth taking a look at. And then there was
Yeah.
some offensive linemen that I won't go through.
Mhm.
And then stock up, Chop Robinson. This is who I
Of
drafted in
course.
my mock draft.
Yeah, I remember
Robinson,
you saying this.
yeah, I really want him now. Robinson entered the season as a projected first-round prospect, but saw his stock start to slip despite still performing at an elite level,
Mhm.
90.8 PFF grade in 2023. Following an elite performance at the combine, it's possible that Robinson cemented his status as a top 32 pick. Both his 40-yard dash, 4.48, and a 10-yard split, 1.54 seconds, ranked in the 98th percentile for edge defenders. Robinson's
Edge.
10'8" broad jump was also in the 95th percentile, while his 4.25-second 20-yard shuttle was in the 85th percentile. So
Wow.
you got an all-around athlete. There's no way
Wow.
this guy doesn't go in the first round. Absolutely no way.
Yeah, and he has been projected to go in the first round over several mock drafts. Even who are the other guys in that same class? Because Chop Robinson has been talked about quite a bit.
Jared Verse from
Jared
Florida State.
First. Yeah. There's a couple other
Alabama's
ones.
got another one.
Yeah, there's been a couple other ones, but he's been one of those names who's been on the rise because of the combine, because of his testing and just kind of evaluations from other teams. So, like you said, I would not be surprised if he goes in the first round and he goes early for sure. I mean, it's going to be quarterback heavy in the first round and
Yeah.
wide receiver heavy, but those edges, those defensive guys, also very much there.
Well, here's the cornerback that could go either the first or second. You got Arnold, Trayvon Arnold, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a guy that you're gonna definitely see starting day one next season on
Yeah.
a team lucky enough to get this guy. It's Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback out of
Yeah.
Toledo.
Yep.
Now he ran a 4.33 40-yard dash at 6 feet, 195 pounds. That times in the 95th percentile. Not only is he blazing fast, but he's also incredibly strong for the position as well. He put up 20 reps on the bench press, and they're repping 225. So that's 245 plates on each side, which puts him in the 91st percentile for corners. Mitchell was also in the
Jesus.
75th percentile in his vertical jump at 38 inches. But here's the crazy thing. Mitchell was PFF's highest graded cornerback in each of the last 2 seasons, and he could hear his name called within the first 15 picks of the draft with how
Oh
dominant
yeah.
he's been in this last
Yeah.
month. So what do you think? Do you think if the Bears move back, do they need a corner? Because isn't Jalen Johnson leaving?
Well, he's actually got franchise tag, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but the Bears aren't moving back.
Okay.
I
Well,
like I like that little subtle.
I would be okay. I would be okay with Denver getting the best corner in the draft. It's like, hey, if we
Mhm.
can't get our quarterback, we could at least have Surtain and another. I mean, could you imagine
Kind of
quarterback
rookie deal.
trying to throw to two?
Oh yeah.
And I think there's going to be a lot of other teams that are going to be thinking that way too. Like,
Hmm.
hey, you know what's better than one shutdown corner? Two shutdown corners.
We've already got our defense down, right? So may as well.
Yeah. Start preparing the home before you invite the company, like we said.
Like we said, yeah.
And then the last one is safety out of Texas Tech. His stock is up. Tyler Owens. Owens
Mm,
was already one of the combine's early standouts during his podium sessions, revealing that he doesn't believe in outer space or other planets. He may doubt astronomy, but he's an alien. He posted a 12'2" broad jump.
this
That's
shit. Oh.
public school system, man. It's not. He posted a 12'2" broad jump. That's not just the second best mark in combine history. It's 1 inch off the world record set by Brian Jones in 2015. Wow. His 41-inch vertical was in the 95th percentile for safeties as well. Owens did all that while still having well above average size at 6'2", 216 pounds. He
Damn.
unfortunately got hurt during his 40-yard dash attempt, so we'll wait for his pro day to see if he can produce more ridiculous numbers.
Mhm.
Once seen as a 7th-round prospect, Owens could be moving way up the board after this week in Indianapolis.
So, and that was one thing that I was just like, These guys don't believe in space, don't believe in birds, don't think clouds are real, don't think aliens are real or whatever. All this stuff came out, and it was just kind of ridiculous. I was like, wait, hold on, you don't think space is real, dude? Like you said, this public school system is screwing some kids over.
You definitely believe in space, because there's a lot of space going on in your head if you don't believe in space. But
it's
I like what Bill
expanding.
said. Of course, if you're an alien, you're gonna say that you don't believe in other planets. You don't want to
True,
blow your cover, right?
true, Bill.
I mean,
Good.
think about it. The people that deny aliens are definitely aliens.
I like that. I like that point of view, Bill. I really do love that point of view. So the combine had a lot of stuff to talk about. One of the biggest things too is, Caleb Williams was at the combine, didn't do
Yep,
anything.
I saw him. I seen
Yeah,
him.
you seen him?
I seen him with my own eye.
Was he wearing a dress and or crying with his mom?
No, man, you guys got
Okay.
to stop bullying him.
I just always think it's so funny that that's one of the reasons people are like, he's not going to be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, it's like
I'm like,
you're literally crying right now about it.
You're like, what? Shut up.
You're literally crying. You're like, oh my God, who's going to cry to his mommy? It's like, you're crying about that. Like,
so what I will say though, too, is like to kind of combat all that stuff is like, he had a really good showing with like the media. In terms of like answering questions, kind of talking about, talking to his other teammates, pretending to ask his teammates questions. I feel like he impressed in that aspect. Obviously, him, Drake May's Jaden Daniels will have their pro days later this month. And it's going to be something that I feel like a lot of people are also going to be tuning into just because, again, they didn't do really much at the combine. Williams did nothing at the combine. Drake Mays and Jaden Daniels, I think, did they did some things. I believe they like measured like their wingspan or some shit like that. Either way. So, but I do like what Caleb Williams was doing at the combine. I can't bring up any quotes right now. I don't have any at the moment, but the way he was talking about, his work ethic, about I don't have a plan B. I'm not being the number 1 overall pick. I'm going to be the number 1 overall pick. Right? Like he is like, I don't care about having the best stats. I don't care about this. I want to be legendary. I want to be the GOAT. You know what I mean? So I think that right there, right? Like, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of players who say that, but to be the number 1 overall expected pick in the draft and to kind of come into the combine where you are not doing any workouts, you're not throwing, you're not doing any of that stuff, barely fucking getting medical revisions done to you for these teams, and to come in there and to still exude that confidence, like, wow, like that is impressive for a 22-year-old guy, whatever his age is, 21. So I think that was very impressive for what Caleb Williams did to, come into the combine and answer questions, talk to the media, and really just
this guy, and he's not even a bear yet.
Oh, I'm glazing the shit out of him right now, 100%. But I just still think like wow, like that's kind of a cool. To me, it's just like, thank God, at least he was able to kind of talk about why he's not throwing, why he's not at the combine doing medical stuff, why he's not doing this, why he's not doing that, and still have a really good time at that. Like, you see people all the time at media things have a good time, and it's, having a good time with the media, talking back and forth, jibber jabbing, making jokes and stuff. So it's always really cool to see that it's like, hey, these guys have so much pressure on them to not only like perform well in the combine and at their pro day, and yet they're still human beings. Like, it's still like me and you talking, for example. Right. So I don't know. I just, to me, that was an awesome kind of thing to see.
Well, I was mentioning earlier about Michael Penix and how I got kind of a bad taste in my mouth because of the Michigan game, but his grades by game in 2023, PFF ranked, his first game, Boise State, 88. And then he got a 90, then a 91.8 versus Michigan State. And now I'll just go down instead of every team. 93.4, 77.2, 78.9, 50.5, 97 or 79.1, 81.2, 68, 73.2, 62.4, 75.5 against Oregon, 93.5 against Texas, and then in the national championship, 49.9. So it was his worst game that we were tuning into of the entire season. He ranked first in deep yards. Drop back rate was 5.5%. Pressure to sack conversion rate was 7.8%. 12th in screen yards, 14th in turnover worthy play rate. 2% of his plays were turnover worthy. So I don't know. Like when you assess him, looking at what he did, they have something called wins above average. So wins above average represents the number of wins a player is worth over an average college football player. And it's a metric that evaluators can utilize to assess performance. It combines how well a player performed in each facet of play using PFF grades and how valuable each facet is to winning football games. The result is a first of its kind metric that allows for cross potential evaluation, and it predicts future value at the player and team levels. So I don't know if you understand all that. I don't, but it goes into like clean pocket standard drop back rate. So clean pocket grade, 79th percentile. So that's not like 90 percentile, but it's also like almost 80, right?
Yeah.
Standard drop back rate, 68th percentile. First and second down grade, 68th percentile. No play action grade, 48th percentile. Beyond sticks grade, 62 percentile. Avoids negatives, 33 percentile. So he does in a way where, but look, his sack rate is in the 96th percentile because he's mobile.
Very mobile.
Yeah, look at the two worst though. No play action and avoids negatives. So his drawbacks are that he takes risks, and that I guess if there's no play action, I guess he's just limited a little bit because that's a clear void in his game. So you would have to run the offense from shotgun, or I guess under center, or no, you would only want to do play action.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know, man, like those things too. I know I know that the numbers, say this and say that. With him being mobile, with him being able to make plays on the run and really just, being him, I think that's nice, because Justin Fields for the most part can do that as well with his legs. The thing is, yes, when he's rolling out, he can make some plays with his arms, but it's at the same time, it's like, why aren't you doing that more consistently? Right. Whereas Caleb Williams, I think for the most part, does that consistently. Does he have some wild throws? Yeah, probably. And I think that's something that scouts throughout his career in college at USC, while he won the Heisman, was something that it's like, hey, this guy can absolutely be mobile and he can absolutely make some ridiculous throws. But do you necessarily want that to be your quarterback? Is that a sustainable thing? Similar to like the Vikings last year. Is winning by less than 3 points for 10 games in a row a sustainable offense? No, it's not. You need Justin Jefferson to make these ridiculous catches. You need Kirk Cousins to do this. You need your offensive line to hold it. Like, it's not sustainable. Absolutely. But I just think the upside for Caleb Williams is just so much better than what the downside is. PFF numbers regardless. I think that if he is one of those guys who has been rated as highly as Trevor Lawrence, as Andrew Luck, as some of these guys that you see.
Michael Penix.
Oh, I thought you said Caleb Williams.
No. Those were Michael Penix's numbers from
what
last.
The hell?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Caleb Williams. That's why.
No. Caleb Williams, his numbers were better. But that's I'm sorry. It took me a while to figure out. I thought you were making a comparison.
Are you kind of just talking about Penix for the Broncos then in that sense?
No, I was just talking about Penix because he's one of the quarterbacks that seemed to be a big mystery. So I was trying to get like some more data on him because it's like
Oh, okay.
he has like NFL level arm talent. He has 2 years of good health showing durability, top
Hmm.
tier production in spread out shotgun offense. But he's yet to become consistent in a lot of those different metrics. So he has to clean up his footwork. He has to throw
Gotcha.
with more
Okay.
anticipation and touch and be willing
Anticipation.
to attack.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought Penix was a guy who threw it in the breadbasket, kind of like Russ did in Seattle, and someone who threw with perfect anticipation. Maybe I wonder if they're talking more so in like short yardage anticipation because
I think,
when
yeah,
he
they
throws
just
it,
mean ball placement.
yeah,
So,
because when he throws it deep, man, it's like right here. You know
well,
what I mean?
he was number 1 in deep yards and he has an elite arm.
Makes
So it would
sense.
make sense that 2 of the, top 5 receivers or 7 receivers, Polk and the other guy, are,
Yeah. Ogunze.
they got speed to get behind, so he just got to throw it as far as he can. Like
Yeah.
he's got that down, but when he's
Yeah.
got, a double slant, is he going to be able to throw the ball in front?
Oh, yeah.
And
That's a good point.
yeah, so and he did rank in the
Hmm.
top 10 in 2 metrics. One of them was his PFF, like his throwing grade,
Hmm.
and then another one was his so he had a 92.9 passing grade and 0.9 turnover worthy plays. Both
Hmm.
were top 10 among qualified quarterbacks. So I guess, is Penix, do you think he's a first round quarterback? Will he go in the first round or will he slip into the
Oh,
second round?
oof. That's a very good question because
It's tough, right?
Penix and Bo Nix are definitely those two guys. Like JJ McCarthy, with what he did at the combine and what everybody has been saying about him, I think goes first round. I really do. I think he's one of those people are saying that he's sneaking into the top 5 already.
He's elite
Quarterbacks,
at avoiding sacks for his entire
apparently.
career. And he plays really well from a clean pocket. So there
Yeah,
is something
but
there that is enticing, but he
he's
has to
elite at
learn.
running at handing the ball off to running backs in Michigan too. So I mean, he's good at that. I just think like JJ McCarthy is out of those 3 guys, Penix, Bo Nix, and McCarthy, easily after what's been said and what Scott's been saying, easily probably going to be a first rounder. It's just Penix and Bo Nix is where it gets to be like, can they be early second rounders, or are they going to be some of those guys where you expect them to go second, third round, but they don't go until like the 5th round, and they're
Right.
waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting, and then they get a call at home. You've just been drafted, and they're like, what? You know what I mean? Because that's happened. You know, so I think out of those 2, maybe Penix, a late first rounder, and maybe a
So
second
you're saying
rounder.
that they're saying he might slip into the top 3?
No, McCarthy will.
Oh, McCarthy will.
McCarthy, after his combine and what's been said and what's been evaluated from him, could be one of those slips into the top 5. Penix and Bo
Who
Nix,
bounces out though?
I don't think
Drake May?
anybody. I don't think anybody bounces out
Well,
of
if
top
he's
5.
slipping into the top 3, then Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, or
Drake May.
Drake May are gonna go down. So like which one
If
of those
it's
3 would you take JJ McCarthy over?
hmm, yeah, man, it really I maybe Drake May. I
I
Jaden
could
Daniels
see,
has the I was
yeah,
gonna say
Drake
Jaden
May.
Daniels has the benefit of being of another mobile quarterback. You know, they're already comparing him to a Lamar Jackson type of quarterback that he can possibly be, maybe better, right? In terms of like passing the ball in the pocket type of shit. Um, so I
Wow.
think maybe it might be Drake May.
We could see 6 quarterbacks be selected in the first round this year.
That would be insane.
We could definitely see it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just you got 4 teams that are definitely getting a quarterback:
Hmm.
Commanders, Bears, Broncos, Patriots. And then you just need 2 other teams that are willing to take a chance on like a Penix or Bo Nix, and then you got your 6.
Who's 5? E
I'm gonna pull up
Dub.
the draft order
We'll see you
really.
later, E Dub.
C-Dub. Draft
C-Dub.
order 2024.
Yeah,
Okay,
because I know it's Bears, Commanders, Patriots,
here it is.
Cardinals, who are probably taking Marvin Harrison Jr. and then
Okay, so you got. Oh, I put 2023. Sorry, I was like the Bears.
we don't do drafts here.
Okay, so Bears, Commanders, Patriots, then the Cardinals.
Yep.
Marvin Harrison Jr.'s been the guy that's linked to them. I
Yeah.
could see that happening. Then at
Mhm.
5, you got the Chargers. The Chargers
The
have their quarterback.
Chargers. Yeah.
So Giants don't have to worry about that to, move up. If they want to draft a quarterback, the Giants are picking at 6. So think about it. The Cardinals have Kyler Murray and the Chargers don't need a quarterback. So that means that if JJ McCarthy moves up to top 3 and Drake May bounces, guess who's going to catch him? The Giants. The Giants are going to get Drake May if that's what happens.
Bill? How you feeling, Bill?
Draft McCarthy if he gets that high. But then it's the Titans who need a quarterback, right? They said that they're going to buy into Will Levis, but don't be shocked if they draft competition here. And then at 8, you have the Falcons. They need a quarterback as well. I think one of those 3 teams is going to use free agency, but maybe not. I mean, you could have 6 quarterbacks gone by the 9th pick when the Bears have their 2nd pick and they're on the clock. And so that means you've had all these quarterbacks gone. The only skill position was Marvin Harrison Jr. And then the Bears pick again at 9 with literally everything on the table.
My God, we're going to get Caleb Williams and Michael Penix Jr.
No, you guys are going to get Caleb Williams and then you're going to draft the best wide receiver that's available. Like, I think that would be it. Neighbors.
Well, you also have the Chargers and the who's after the Chargers?
That's it, because the Giants and the Titans could go quarterback in this scenario.
Yeah, so the Chargers could possibly they could really either go offensive line with Joe Alt if they want, or
they're going to grab the best defensive back for sure.
You think so?
Yeah, because that's
no way.
That's what their most significant needs, a defensive back. So I think that they'll end up drafting the one that we talked about earlier that had an incredible combat. No, not that one. Trayvon Arnold. They could draft him there.
Terrion Arnold or Teron Arnold?
Yeah.
No, I really because I hear a lot of good things. I hear a lot of good things about Olu Fashanu, which is, I believe, one of the either I can't remember if he's an offensive or defensive lineman. Olu Fashanu, I'll look him up right now. But I've been hearing a lot about Olu Fashanu, and he is a where is he? Offensive tackle. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about him. Joe Alt as well in that same conversation, or they can go defense.
I'm going to be so mad at the Bears if they draft an offense, because Justin Fields is like, really? You're going to take Malik Neighbors? Like, I could have used him.
He had DJ fucking Moore. He had a great season with him. He had that's it. And he had, I could see the wide receiver 2 and 3. Yeah, they're probably not great, right? You got fucking Mooney,
who's like Jerry Judy, whatever.
Yeah,
and then
for the most part, yeah.
And then you got
and then you got Equinemius St. Brown, right? Like, who is that? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's not great though. But you also had, Cole Kmet there at tight end, who was a huge upgrade.
He's good.
He's really good.
But if you could get a solid wide receiver 1 to pair with DJ Moore, dude, that's like a quarterback's dream scenario. That's why Joe Burrow got to the Super Bowl. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Yeah, no, 100%. But if I think because look, the Bears do not have a 2nd round draft pick, so that does kind of suck. You would want to try to acquire maybe at least a 2nd round. But if you go 3rd and you pick up, no, man, maybe you are right. But like the trenches are huge there. The trenches are huge though. And you bring in Caleb Williams. You've already got a pretty solid offensive line. Why not upgrade it with a Fashanu, with a Joe Alt. Yes, you can have another skill player there at for Caleb Williams, if you draft him number 1 overall. But if you got DJ Moore, I mean, you can kind of get away with him and Cole Kmet for his year 1. And then if you're not going to, because the Bears aren't going to make the playoffs probably next year. Like that's unless Caleb Williams or whoever they draft
They
has
could
a
totally
CJ
make the
Stroud.
playoffs next year.
I think their defense
Look at the way they
is
close.
absolutely. I think they definitely improved on defense. I just think if you bring in a rookie quarterback, unless he has a sort of a CJ Stroud type of rookie year, like it might be a rough transition. Might be. Can the Bears do
Caleb
it?
Williams
I hope
is
so.
projected to be like Andrew Luck. And what did Andrew Luck do his first year?
Just like CJ Stroud made the playoffs. Yeah, you're right. So I think if the Bears can do that though, and if they, if they decide to bring in a wide receiver, if they decide to bring in an offensive lineman, to be honest, if you're drafting Caleb Williams 1 overall and you go to the 9th spot and you're looking at a wide receiver or an offensive line, you can't go wrong with either one. You really can't. You're going to have DJ Moore and Cole Kmet there.
I just don't see a scenario where they don't move back. Because like you said, they don't have a 2nd-round pick. So I could see them going with taking the 9th pick and moving back to like 12. Just like barely moving back. And
because there's still options at that point.
Because there's still options. The worst thing that could happen is that Malik Neighbors is gone, and now you draft the receiver out of Washington, Rome
Odunze. Who else?
Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy. You could potentially draft Xavier Worthy, but I just don't know. I think he's going to end up falling like the way Jalen Hyatt fell. Yeah. And somebody's probably going to get him move up in the 3rd round to get him, and it's going to be a steal.
Yeah, I can't see Xavier Worthy going that high. Late 1st round, early 2nd to mid 2nd. Yeah, I could see that just because of his speed. But
he's definitely not going to slip that far.
No, in terms of just skill overall, you want someone much, much better. So again, like I said, like at 9, if the Bears decide to move back, because hey, just like last year, we're not going to take Jalen Carter. Eagles, you can have him. We get another pick here, plus your 1st rounder. Shit, why not? Because if you've already got a ton of options and you don't have a 2nd round pick, can you maybe finagle a 2nd rounder and have the 12th, 13th, 14th pick and still get the guy that you want? Absolutely,
but
win-win.
If LSU's bringing out another Odell Beckham and Justin Jefferson, you know how LSU does wide receivers. Like when there's a highly recruited LSU wide receiver available, get him. And
snatch him up.
That might be where the Bears just can't turn away at 9. They might just say, nah, that might be our Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I agree.
DJ Moore, I'm not saying he's old, but he's not getting any younger.
Yeah, but he's still producing at a number 1, and I think an elite number 1.
Is he 30?
No, he's like 26, 27.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes I feel like players have been around longer than they have. DJ Moore, it's probably just because he's been so consistent every year since he's come in. But yeah, I think if you could get Caleb Williams and then another guy like Odell or Justin Jefferson, that could be what it takes for you guys to get over. And then I know you feel good about your running backs, but there's some really good running backs. If you guys do move back and get a 2nd round pick, you could probably snag Trey Benson out of Florida State, who I think is going to be an absolute monster.
Well, I think that's a really good segue, Kyle, into kind of the franchise tag, because between Thursday and tonight, when we started recording this episode, dude, so much happened in the NFL. And part of that process was that today was the final day to franchise tag or transition tag players. One of the players that was not franchise tagged, and you spoke of it, you said a running back, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley was not franchise tag. He is going to test the market. Bill, I'm sorry that you're
and Xavier McKinney.
And Xavier McKinney, like there is a ton of people out there, but Saquon Barkley definitely is one of those guys that can make a difference in your running back room. And you talked about the Bears possibly drafting one. They could even get Saquon in there. They've got a ton of cap room. They've got a ton of it. They just tagged Jalen Johnson, right? That's going to come out, right? And sure, you're going to have to pay some more people. Bill's like, don't do this to me. Bill, at least he'll be on the Bears if they get him, right? Like, at least we can both be happy about it. But yes, I like the running back room for the Bears. But adding Saquon Barkley, dude, to Caleb Williams, to DJ Moore, to Cole Kmet, to a offensive line, to possibly Neighbors Odunze, to an offensive line with that defense, and to an offensive line that was already leading the league in rushing, or at least was top 2. Talk about a scary fucking team. And obviously it all does rest on, if we draft Caleb Williams, if it all rests on his shoulders, if we can get farther. But franchise tag, Saquon Barkley was not tagged, Kyle. Let's go through the people who were tagged, because a lot of these make sense. And honestly, like good for the teams that did it. Justin Madubuike from the Baltimore Ravens, one of the more dominant defensive tackles, defensive linemen from the Ravens, was tagged. He's going to get $22 million for 2024. Brian Burns from the Carolina Panthers, linebacker, $24 million.
Out of Carolina, right?
Yes, out of Carolina. Sorry, did I cut out there for a bit?
Oh yeah, I guess.
Okay.
He logged what 8 sacks last season? Was
yes.
it? We talked about it a couple of weeks ago.
Let's see. 8 sacks, 1 fumble. And he's still 25 years old.
Same thing with Justin Madubuike. You know, he's an up and coming star. These are rising stars.
Mm-hmm. And so those two guys on defense, as well as Josh Allen from the Jaguars, getting $24 million from the Jaguars to keep him under the tag. You have L'Jarius Sneed, who was tagged by the Kansas City Chiefs at cornerback, Antoine Winfield Jr., safety out of Tampa Bay, Jalen Johnson, the Bears' best cornerback. I messaged him on Instagram. I was like, bro, get the extension done. You're the only one who's done any justice to that number 33.
Everybody give Rick a round of applause. Rick's not wearing any Bears gear. For everybody that's tuning in right now, until the Bears make him proud again as a fan.
They have to win 5 games.
But this is a step in the right direction, right?
Yes. It seemed obvious that they're going to do that to Jalen Johnson, but now it's even better, because now it's like, hey, we're going to tag you, but there's still plenty of time to work on a deal, which I really do hope they can make happen, because Jalen Johnson has been one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. Bill said Rick will never wear Bears gear again. Bill, how dare you? You know what? I'm taking Saquon. Fuck that. I'm in Saquon.
He wants the New York Tears.
He wants Chicago Tears. And of course, we talked about T. Higgins, and Michael Pittman was franchise tagged, $21 million for both T. Higgins and Michael Pittman Jr. And not franchise tagged, but signed the 2-year deal. Mike Evans is staying on the Tampa Bay Bucks. Mike Evans is staying on the Tampa Bay Bucks to continue his dominance. I want to say
something about that really quick.
Yeah, what's up?
So when I saw the Mike Evans news, I was like, wow, I didn't expect them to give him $50 million for 2 years. Like, I really didn't expect that. But something about it felt like good. And I was exploring these feelings, and I thought, it's just not used. I'm not used to like one player being loyal to a team. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm always used to when it gets to this point, like everybody goes their separate ways. And it's like, it's just cool to see Mike Evans, like a guy that was drafted by Tampa Bay, be able to stay there for the length that he has and still able to cash in $50 million deals. Like, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, one of the most consistent wide receivers since he entered the league, 10 seasons of 1,000 yards receiving straight, already has a Super Bowl under his belt, is well on his way to Hall of Fame, induction. And to do it all under one team, man, like you said, it's rare. It's something that I wish Chicago teams would do more often. But unfortunately, we don't. Right? I'm sure with Von Miller, you'd wish the same thing for Denver.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you get to the business side of things, and this is kind of what happens. But yeah, for Mike Evans, man, congrats to him. Congrats to that entire Tampa Bay Bucks organization. And more importantly, the fans. They get to see him for 2 more years, which will
Yeah.
probably be, the end of his
Baker.
career. And
Him
with
and
Baker. And with Baker. And with Baker.
So Christian Wilkins wasn't franchise tagged, you said, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Christian Wilkins is a defensive tackle for the Dolphins. So I pulled up
Mhm.
really quick the PFF grade roster to see where he ranked. Wilkins. Here he is, Christian Wilkins.
He had a hell of a season.
70. Yeah, he ranked 29th out of 130 eligible defensive tackles. 29th. So
Yeah.
that's pretty good. 29th out of 130. That's definitely like, if you're starting him, there's, I guess, only 2 teams that have a better. Is that great?
I mean, you're top half of the top half, to be honest.
You're definitely a guy that
you're definitely one of those guys.
you're
for
going
sure.
somewhere. You're going somewhere. But
And we have to look at it too from a team point of view. Like, they got to cut money too. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's pretty good. I honestly, like, all of those guys, like, I guess the common theme is like they're all around 25 years old, the ones that did get signed, or tagged, and they're rising stars. And then maybe the Giants and Dolphins felt like Christian Wilkins and Saquon Barkley, like, their best days are behind them. And Xavier McKinney too. I was kind of surprised that they got rid of 2 players, because there was only, a handful of these guys, and the Giants are the only team with multiple players that they're letting walk. And the Xavier McKinney, I'm looking at him really quick too, just to see how he performed. Xavier McKinney, here he is. He was 4th out of 95. He was the 4th best safety in the league. He played at a top 5 level, and his coverage was a 91.2. And you know how Alabama brings in good corners. Well, Xavier McKinney was on the same defense as Surtain. So that's a huge target. So whoever he goes to is getting a really solid player.
Bears.
Surprised that between Saquon and him that they let them both walk.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the Giants and what they're doing. It's that fucking Daniel Jones deal is what's killing them. That is what's killing them. Daniel Jones, and they're already thinking of letting him go. Like you said earlier, why not draft a quarterback at 6 or 5, whatever pick they have? Like, why not? But just like Bill's saying, he wants to get paid. He's only 24 years old, wants to get paid, and that's kind of exactly what Antoine Winfield was in that sort of situation. He was going to come out and he was going to test free agency, and he was probably going to get paid a shit ton of money. So that's what these young guys want to do, especially at your 24, 25 years old. Like, you've got a solid 5, 6, 7, almost 8 years left of like playing at a very high level for these guys. So why not try to make those mid to late 20s into your 30s the most, the highest money you make in your time? So yeah, absolutely, dude. I get it.
In a lot of cases, it's a step in the right direction. Like, it shows good faith. It's like, hey, like, this is going to take a little bit of time, but we want to secure you. So we're going to tag you for now, just to let you know that, out of good faith, like, we are invested in you. So I think that's kind of the significance of it for a lot of teams, where it's like, no, we can wait to get a deal done, but we're at least going to give you some kind of guarantee in the meantime.
Yeah. And, shifting over to the wide receivers, we just talked about Michael Pittman Jr., and we talked about T. Higgins getting the tag, $22 million. Calvin Ridley for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags got him, right before his suspended season. And they were like, you know what? We'll take the hit on the suspended season. That's fine. We get it. And then you came into this last season with Trevor Lawrence, fully expecting to win the division, fully expecting Calvin Ridley to be a big part of that offense. And, unfortunately with Trevor Lawrence, he did get injured. He was playing through an injury, and it did just kind of get worse there towards the end. But Calvin Ridley, for like multiple weeks in a row, was just completely absent from the offense. Now, I don't necessarily think he'll have a hard time finding a way on a team, but there's no way he makes franchise tag money. There's no way he gets 22 mil.
I think there's a way he gets 22 mil. When you look at that was good. That was your best joke since we started this channel.
Yes. Yes.
No, I these guys there's always going to be a team that I think like a chance to get a top 5 wide receiver in the league. Like, could he be that? Well, he was on pace to being that. Some would say he already was that. Kind of took over that final year and took over for Julio Jones. He was a clear wide receiver 1. Yeah. But you take an entire season off because of the gambling, and then when you come back, it's the same thing with players that come back from injury. Like, sometimes it's that second year that they really get back into the groove of everything. Okay. And on top of it, Calvin Ridley was at a new environment with a new team, a new coach, a new quarterback, new teammates. Like, there's a lot of new going on, but I still feel like Calvin Ridley could be a top 5 wide receiver in the league. But you're right. Like, it did disappoint. What he was supposed to do last year with Jacksonville and what was actually accomplished was very, very apart from the projections. So I do think that it's going to require a little hesitance, but I think ultimately, like, there's always somebody willing to overpay. And it might pay off for him.
Yeah. And I think, what he's going to get to is probably one of those like 1-year prove it deals. Now, it might be possibly for the, veteran minimum, depending on what his agent does. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be a veteran minimum guy, but he's also 29 years old. So while you are looking at the upside and what he did before the gambling, and now he basically was the number 1, like you said, in Atlanta after Julio Jones, the age, his production in Jacksonville with, a really good quarterback in Trevor Lawrence is something that he's just going to take a huge hit on money-wise. And really, like I said, I think it's just going to be a 1-year prove it deal, few $1 million here and there, and we'll see kind of where he ends up. But Calvin Ridley, he might be like on some, like on an OBJ type of projection, can he be young, Yeah, you're right. Comparable to what OBJ did, but he gets on a really good team, maybe like on a team that's more prepared to kind of win, Chiefs. Or at least playoff snap. He's going to the Chiefs. Fuck it. The Chiefs will sign him, right?
But the Chiefs are losing Chris Jones most likely because it would cost $32 million to put the franchise tag on him. So yeah, exactly. That's why that option always seems so unlikely, but it seems that he's probably most likely changing teams. And then Kirk Cousins is still number 2. Christian Wilkins is at number 3. Daniel Hunter 4. These are the best free agents available. Tyron Smith, offensive tackle. The Bears could maybe make a move for him. Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Greenard, Calvin Ridley, Mike Anahunu, Leonard Williams, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from Detroit.
Yeah.
And then you got Xavier McKinney and Kendall Fuller. But yeah, these top couple ones like Chris Jones, like it seems really, really difficult for me to believe that that's not going to make a massive difference for the Chiefs going into next season without that guy.
And one of the other ones too for the Dolphins, Xavier Howard, Pro Bowl guy, one of the shutdown guys that was supposed to be one of those shutdown corners as well with what's his name, Jalen Ramsey on the other side, cut
Yep.
from the Dolphins.
Crazy.
It's like he's out there. Like these guys, it's just insane, man. Like what's going on? Like when we say there was so much that happened over 4 days, so much has happened over 4 days, guys. A shit ton of stuff happened over 4 days. This is what I love about the NFL. It is a 24/7, 365, except maybe sometimes in July, where it is just football all day, every day. Something is happening at every point in the year.
Yeah, and another receiver. So Gabe Davis is going to be a free agent. Curtis Samuel and Darnell Mooney and Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown is considered the number 2 available wide receiver, but Calvin Ridley's number 1.
Wow. Okay.
Dude, if the Bears could get Calvin Ridley, oh my God. Imagine if they drafted Neighbors, signed Calvin Ridley, and had DJ Moore. That was the receiving core. Calvin Ridley,
oh my God.
DJ Moore, and Neighbors.
I don't know. I like Neighbors. I like DJ Moore. Obviously, Calvin Ridley. I don't like. It would have to
watch his Atlanta highlights. Remind yourself.
No, absolutely. You're 100% correct. I just think like, oh God, I feel like I'd rather go for a Gabe Davis type. Pay him more money. If I already have DJ Moore signed to a deal, if I already got Malik Neighbors under a rookie deal, fuck it. Why not pay Gabe Davis, a guy who can produce and has produced with Josh Allen in
and
a pretty
get Saquon Barkley instead.
And get Saquon Barkley, baby. Fine, let's get Saquon Barkley. The Bears did also add an interior lineman, Bates from
You're not
Buffalo.
allowed to get all these good players.
Dude, it's my year. It is the Bears year.
There it is. Our first actual real moment with Rick this year. It's the Bears year. Can we clip that?
No. Yes, absolutely.
Clip that. Let everyone know on the internet that it's the Bears year.
But the league year hasn't started. Doesn't start for another few days, so technically I'm just saying it until the 13th, and then I'll go back to my
year.
It's the Bears year. Oh, don't have a Kenny Golladay story. Don't do that. You'll regret it, Bill.
Rick
yeah,
is
you're right.
Back.
I'm back, baby. I'm back. This is gonna be replaced by a Bears hat a lot sooner than I hope to expect. But again, 5 games. They gotta win 5 games. They gotta win 5 games and look good before I ever have the Bears gear touch this body of mine.
Baker Mayfield is the last one I wanted to say. Baker's got an interesting situation right now because he's technically a free agent, right? And he took his team to the playoffs and won a couple of games and looked pretty good. And he's not even 30 years old. If I've always felt like Baker was going to be a Bronco, I think that could be one of the free agents.
There were reports though that they are finalizing a deal with the Bucks. Bill said, "Oh, it's clipped." I love it. But there's reports that they are finalizing a deal with Baker.
Good for him.
Yeah, 100% good for Baker. Again, it's reports though. Splashy shit might happen. Re-signings may not happen. You release them, you cut them, you do that. They just re-signed Mike Evans. They have to have a quarterback for Mike Evans to be there 2 years.
And
you know what I mean?
Russell Wilson's ranked 5th below Ryan Tannehill for the available quarterbacks. It goes Kirk Cousins, Jacoby Brissett, Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill, Russell Wilson. Ryan Tannehill's even 1 year older than Russell Wilson.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's Russell Wilson right between Ryan Tannehill and Jameis Winston. This is what I'm saying. We can't have like those tiers anymore. Like we need to at least be going with somebody like Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins.
That's true.
I don't know. Jacoby Brissett is number 2 on this. And honestly, there's nothing against Jacoby Brissett. He's just a league average starting quarterback. And those are worth a lot of money.
Those are worth a lot of money.
But no fan wants one.
No, not at all.
No, I really want a mediocre, just tier 2 guy. No one wants
just average football. That's exactly what I'm rooting for. You do not want that. You're right.
Average. Yeah, especially when you freaking have been doing that for a
Uh,
decade.
yeah.
Can we just get somebody exciting? Can we have Caleb Williams or Justin Fields? I know Bears only want one of them.
I'll give you Fields for Surtain. Or not Surtain, sorry, Sutton. And the second rounder.
Judy.
Oh, fuck you. We already had one of those.
We'll give you a second rounder and call it a day then. PFF let me execute that trade with like a
I'm down.
second round pick in 2025 and a fourth round pick in 2025. And
I think the Broncos can get excited about Justin Fields.
Really?
I think you guys can.
I would be.
I think so.
A lot of people are like, I don't want Fields. And I'm like, why? He's younger. He's faster.
He's 24,
he's more mobile. Let him and Sean Payton get together. It's going to be a lot of fun, dude. It's already March. The draft is coming up in a month.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how this is possible.
I know.
It is just flying by. I mean,
I feel like the Super Bowl was just yesterday.
Yeah, me too. So it's about to get even weirder. And then they did like a tracker of like the recent signings that have happened. So the Bills signed Ryan Bates, traded to Bears. Our offensive tackle Ryan Bates was traded to the Bears in exchange for Chicago's 5th round pick.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, it won't be finalized until the 13th, when the new year, when the new league year starts. Yeah.
Well, but before I say that doesn't matter. Remember, Randy Gregory did one of those deals with the Cowboys and then changed his mind and signed with the Broncos. So sometimes
there you go.
Sometimes it is like worth waiting for that date, but 99% of the time it's done.
It's probably gonna be done. Yeah.
Kyle Duggar received the transition tag safety for the Patriots. Nelson Aguilar signed a 1-year extension with the Ravens.
Wow.
T. Higgins received the franchise tag.
Yep.
Dalton Schultz, tight end for Texans.
Yes, that was the other one.
Re-signing on a 3-year, $36 million deal that includes 23.5 fully guaranteed.
How do you feel about that one? Dalton Schultz was pretty, like, with the Cowboys, he wasn't amazing. And then he went to the Texans with CJ Stroud, and they obviously had an amazing year. And do you think Dalton Schultz was a part of that? Obviously, you had Nico Collins, you had Tank Dell, all those guys there. But do you think he was maybe like with him signing an extension, he becomes like one of those safety blankets for CJ Stroud?
Yeah. Well, Dalton Schultz is better than half of the NFL starting tight ends.
Okay.
So I mean, I think his pay point was pretty fair. Like he was last year, he was ranked 14th out of 72 tight ends. And I do think like part of CJ Stroud's success was so good that you almost don't want to change anything, right?
Yeah.
You're like, wait, we know that this worked. Let's at least give CJ Stroud, some consistency here, including Dalton Schultz. I like the deal. It's $36 million, 2 years. It's good for him. It's good for the Texans. It's good for CJ Stroud.
Yeah. And last season ranked 12th in receiving yards, tied for 7th in touchdowns with 5, and 12th in receptions among tight ends. Had one hell of a game against the Bucs. He had 10 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. And, for like all intents and purposes, one of like we said, one of his safety blankets, really, when kind of dumping the ball off, one of his more, I guess, familiar targets for CJ Stroud. And like you said, you don't want to change things. Let's keep the good times rolling. Why not keep a guy who's, on a 3-year deal, 27 years old, going into his 30s in that deal? Let's see how he does the next 3 years. It's not that much of a crazy spending spree that the Texans are going on for Schultz.
Yeah, and the Eagles signed Albert Akawubuenam, the tight end. We call him Alberto.
Alberto. Okay.
He was our tight end, and then he did good in the preseason. We traded him to the Eagles on a 1-year deal. So he signed again for 1 year. So look for Albert O maybe to emerge with the Eagles next year.
Oh,
Oh, okay. I didn't.
that was it. That was it.
Okay. And then I think there's one more player. Of course, Mike Evans, Brian Burns, and then Demarcus Robinson for the Rams. He re-signed on a 1-year deal worth $5 million.
Oh, okay.
So that was the last receiver.
Mhm.
So the Rams doing something similar where they're like, hey, let's keep the same core. This core was pretty good. And if you can get him for 5 years or for $5 million, that's pretty damn good. Like our wide
Yeah.
receiver 3 is making $5 million.
Yeah.
Awesome. You got Cooper Kupp, but then you
Mhm.
got also Puka Nacua still on that rookie contract.
Rookie
So
deal, yeah.
Rams are another team I'm actually looking to take a step maybe into an NFC championship next season.
Wow.
The way that they're going and the way Sean McVay is and a
Mhm.
healthy Matthew Stafford, like the Rams could have done a whole rebuild in one season, depending on if they hit this draft the same way they did last year. They're
Yeah.
going to be in good shape next year.
Jesus, could you imagine another Puka and another Kyron Williams type of playmaker
Oh
on
my
their
God, I didn't
defense,
even
on their
mention
offense?
him.
Whew,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Let's talk about one other loser on the free agency / franchise tag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about another fucking loser.
Yeah,
fuck.
that's what it sounded like.
Kyle's like, Jesus Christ.
Like, oh,
what
shit.
was the turn here?
Oh man.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs was not franchise
Jingleheimer
tag.
Schmidt, his name was our name too.
Name to the people always shout.
It's enough.
Okay. So Josh Jacobs, after coming out of a season with one of his lowest outputs in rushing, after 1 year removed from being the rushing leader in the NFL, is no longer a Raider. They did not franchise tag him. He wanted to stay with the Raiders because he said that it was the team that drafted him, but more so, I think that's who's going to give him the most money with a franchise tag. Do you think Josh Jacobs, one, finds a good spot, and two, makes money that you give to a younger premier type of running back, not necessarily like a franchise guy, but maybe someone who could help you out for 3-ish years?
Yeah. Okay, what position is he?
A running back?
Oh, Josh Jacobs. Okay, sorry. He's a Raider, so I don't know anything about him. He sounds like a scrub though.
I fucking love it, Kyle. I fucking love that. Now you know how I feel about the Packers. Go ahead.
No, Josh Jacobs like you said, coming off that bad season, but really like Josh McDaniels is such a dumpster.
Piece of
Just
shit, man.
literally day-old dumpster outside of Red Lobster. Like everything in the area just sucks when Josh McDaniels takes over. He ships out the best talent. He brings in expatriates. Like it's not great.
Dog
And
shit.
he did
Dog
not
shit.
do good. But it's like we have to kind of remove like, okay, just like Nathaniel Hackett was atrocious. It was like, okay, maybe Russ is there, but
Mhm.
with a better coach. So we could do that with Josh Jacobs and say maybe he actually still has a lot of really good football left in him, but he was in a terrible system. So I don't know. Like I'm not out on Josh Jacobs. I still think if my team were to sign him, like, oh, this guy's got a lot of ball left in him, like I would immediately be happy. So it would be hypocritical for me to be like, oh, he's definitely done or anything like that, because I do think because he's so young, it's not like you're asking for much. Like he would improve, I think, no matter where he goes next year, just because
Mhm.
he's probably going to go to a better situation. So I think if the Bears drafted him, if the Bears signed him, like, wouldn't you feel also like, oh, sweet, we got Josh Jacobs. Like, this guy led the NFL 2 years ago, you know?
Yeah, and Bill asks a really good question too, because I would feel good about Josh Jacobs. I'd feel good about Saquon Barkley. I'd feel good about either of these guys. But Bill, you're wrong. Saquon is a year older than him, almost a year to the day. I think they're both February babies. 97 for Saquon, 98 for Josh Jacobs. I just looked that up. I am in nowhere near a genius about that stuff. But
Don't
what I
worry,
will
we
say,
weren't tricked.
yeah, some people were. No, dude, honestly, like I would be like Saquon or Josh Jacobs. Like, yeah, Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing, like we said 2 seasons ago. Saquon Barkley is an absolute beast when he's healthy. Why wouldn't I want either of those guys on the Bears with Caleb Williams, with DJ Moore, with Cole Kmet, with one of the best running offenses in the last couple seasons? Why not? Why wouldn't I want that? That would be an awesome upgrade. And the Bears were really like one of those top teams to go after Saquon last offseason until they franchise tagged him, obviously. And then going into this season again, they kind of come up in those sort of talks because he would be a big playmaker too. So for me, fuck yeah. And I'm sure you as a Broncos fan would want either Saquon or a Josh Jacobs on your team.
Yo, I actually love when Raiders come to the Broncos
Fuck yeah,
or
Bill.
Chiefs come to the Broncos, but I hate when Broncos go to their team. Did you see the Seahawks
Yeah.
cut Jamal Adams?
They cut Jamal Adams, the safety, and somebody else. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Well, I think their safety was the one you're thinking of is probably Jamal Adams,
or maybe I'm thinking of cornerback.
Maybe I didn't hear about
Quandre
that.
Diggs and Will Dissly.
Yeah, so cutting Jamal Adams less than 3 years after making him the highest paid safety in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
Are you shocked about that? I guess
yes.
You are.
I am shocked because Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams were probably up there. They're probably up there in terms of like playmaking ability and how good they are.
But Jamal Adams ranked, I just pulled it up really quick, last year at his position, because he was a safety, right?
Mm-hmm. And Quandre Diggs as well.
Quandre Diggs as well?
Mm-hmm.
For the Seahawks, right?
Yep.
Oh, weird. Oh, maybe they're not on here anymore because they're released. I went to the Seahawks roster.
Oh, yeah. So it says Seattle Seahawks release safeties Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs and tight end Will Dissly on Tuesday. And I mean, you're probably like Adams probably not at the top of his game, but he made 3 Pro Bowls with the Seattle Seahawks. It's just, I think the Seahawks, with the fact they've got McDonald as a new head coach, they've got Pete Carroll in an advisor role. They're moving on from the old guard into the new. They're still not necessarily set on Geno Smith. They called him his number 1. They're talking about him being the number 1 quarterback, the starter. I just like this is just a completely like brand new phase of the Seahawks, and this is part of it. This is kind of like how with the Denver Broncos, you got to rip the Band-Aid off, and unfortunately, some names that have been there for a while are part of that Band-Aid.
Jamal Adams finished 2023 with a PFF grade of 54.9, which ranked 95th among safeties who played 20% of their team's snaps. The former first-round pick had 4 interceptions in 80 career games, but 95th among safeties.
That's rough.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but if you're the highest paid player at the time of your contract and you're the 90, I mean, that means every team has like more than 2 safeties that are better than you.
Yeah.
How can you be the best safety on your team if every team has 2 safeties that are better than you?
How does 2 plus 3
You're third.
equals 7? But I love this comment by Bill because it does kind of sum us up. Kyle equals the numbers guy, Rick the emotional guy, Bill on the fence between you two. I love that. That's good. But yes, 100%, Bill. I totally see that. Well, I think that we're obviously going to have a ton more to talk about. The NFL season is really just beginning. But Kyle, you gonna want to give us a little bit of the
little chives with Kyle.
chives with Kyle.
All right, I was super excited about this one because it's been I'm bad at secrets, and don't worry, it's nothing crazy cool, but on my way to the combine, I saw something that I never thought I would ever see in my life. And before I tell you about it, let me show you the video. And before I show it to you, let me show you the video. All right, so we're on the highway, and you guys see anything weird about this? This guy has a duck. A duck. Right there. There's a real life duck. I only see one. Do you see another one?
There's a brown one to the right of you.
Oh my god, there is. Does that guy have a duck on purpose?
Does that guy have a duck on purpose?
Like, is that an
Oh,
owner
no.
with a duck in the back, and that's his duck, or is
Oh,
that
my
duck
God.
sleeping in a deep slumber, woke up and was on a highway? And
Oh, my
that's the kind
God.
of highway you're on when you're going to a new state. So that duck, probably, if he was stuck on that boat, lost his family. He'll never see them again. He's gonna have to go migrate into a new duck group, and who knows if they're gonna even have him. Like, I don't know the rules on
On
ducks.
ducks?
They take in strange ducks, but I couldn't stop thinking about this guy. Rick, was that duck a pet? Was that a pet duck?
I think that duck was the mom duck, and she had ducklings. But you didn't see any of the ducklings because the last words to her ducklings were,
Get fucking set!
they did not get set. They flew the fuck off the back of that truck, and that's why it was the only duck on that truck.
God.
Oh, that was good. That was good. That's the shit you see in Indiana, people. That is, as a Chicagoan through and through, I would roll my windows up going through Indiana whenever I'd be going out east. And I tell you, you go through Indiana, you know you're going through Indiana because it fucking stinks. And that's why I had my windows up. But that's the type of shit you see in Indiana.
I went to Illinois. I was in Indianapolis, and then we went west to hit up Illinois, and then kind of went like that way back. But it was funny because there's parts of Illinois where I was like, "Are we still in Indianapolis?" Because you're so far out on the outskirts that you can't tell. Like, actually, that video, I was still in Tennessee technically.
Oh, okay.
It's like
So
all
they're
these
probably from
Midwest
Indiana.
states. Yeah, I was gonna say the Ducks are probably from Indiana.
100%.
They're just trying to get back home. But I was thinking all the Midwest states, when you're on the outskirts of them, they all feel the same.
They do.
You have no idea where you're at. You're like looking for license plates. Like, where are we?
You're
Because
like,
both of our phones died.
You're like, why does it feel like I'm in a country, like on the countryside or something like that?
Exactly. We both. I thought he was going to bring a phone charger, and he thought I was going to bring a phone charger. So our phones died on the combine. And
oh no, that sucks.
There is one last thing to show you, and that was at the combine. They had a screen, a big screen or whatever, and they had me up on it.
There's Kyle.
There's me taking a picture with my combine jersey next to the Dolphins fan.
Yeah, right. The Dolphins jersey, the 13 to his right is Kyle taking a picture of what you see right now.
Yeah, I didn't upload it, but dude, this combine sweater is so badass, and it was really cool. Here's also a picture of like inside of the stadium. That's where we were sitting, and I did see Rossi there, and he was walking out onto the field, and it was like super quiet. And I stood up in front of everybody, and I went, "Grossi Posse!" And it was super awkward for him. I could tell because he didn't know what to do, and
Oh no.
he just kind of like looked back. You could tell he was happy, and he like went like that. And I was
Nice.
like, man, what are you doing down there? Come up here so we can
Yeah.
talk.
With the regular folk.
Yeah,
With
but
the
he was down
regular folk.
there. I think maybe I don't know if he was like working with the NFL, but it kind of seemed like it because it was like people that were only working with the NFL were on the field. So I don't know if they're
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. That makes
doing a
sense.
little side gig with him, but I was
Yeah.
really hoping I would run into him like at the concessions or something. And then
And a
when
crowd, yeah.
when I saw he was on the field, I was like, oh, that's not going to happen. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to tell him how much he's done for the podcast.
That would have been sweet. That would have been a cool interaction if you were able to get that.
Yeah, but next time.
Next time for
Next
sure. And next time, we're going to be bringing you even more NFL news, more NFL updates, obviously, because they're going to keep happening. They're going to keep like the new league year begins the 13th of this month. But let's be honest, the NFL is year round, and this is why Kyle and I do the Only Football podcast. If you want to follow us on X, I know we have a lot of people on X, on Twitter right now tuning in. We appreciate it. Go check us out at Only Football Pod, and you could follow me at And Now Rick. Kyle, where can they follow you on X?
You can follow me at NFL with Kyle, and yeah, definitely if you're a Broncos fan or you just want to see a lot of NFL content, go ahead and follow.
Yeah, and definitely go check us out too on YouTube, the Only Football Podcast, and then on Twitch, the Only Football Podcast as well. Go give us a follow, go give us a like. Make sure to like this video, whether you're on X, on YouTube, or Twitch. Make sure to hit that heart button, smash that like button. Kyle almost got part of that right there.
And I also wanted to say we did pretty good tonight numbers wise. There was a lot of people that came in here that were interested, so I just wanted to say for everybody that tuned in and stayed for this whole entire time, thank you guys for being here and being a part of the channel. I know it's the off season and sometimes it's hard to get people interested in football, but you guys all came and showed up, so I wanted to give a quick thanks to everybody that tuned in. And if you enjoyed it, please come back. We do this twice a week, and we're always uploading shorts and stuff like that. So make it home.
Yeah, we do have to upload more to X too. We usually just try to concentrate on YouTube. So we'll definitely try to do more on X as well through the Only Football Podcast page. But definitely, like Kyle said, we appreciate all you guys, sticking with us for these almost 2 hours, 45 minutes of NFL talk, straight up NFL talk with a little bit of ducks there at the end for you guys. So thanks so much for tuning in. And remember to follow us on X. Remember to follow us on YouTube, on Twitch. And go check out some of the other content that we put up. And we will be back on Thursday. Kyle, always a good time, brother.
Always a good time.